Chapter 67. The sun was setting. The bright afterglow shone on the windy mountain, dyeing it a pink color. Coming out from the horse farm at the foot of the mountain, Yi Chen tidied up his clothes and walked up the mountain with some inner disciples who had just finished their missions. On the way, everyone was talking about him. "Brother Miao, I heard that you took on a 4-star white rank mission. You really impressed me." "Brother Fang, you are flattering me. I only took on the most common 4-star white rank mission. I did not dare to take on anything too difficult. Compared to that Zhong Haoren, I am still far from it. Zhong Haoren, he is a madman. The first time he took on a 3-star white rank mission, the second time he took on a 4-star white rank mission, and the third time he took on a 5-star white rank mission. I wonder if he can make it back alive. It will be difficult. Although he is a genius, and he can fight those who are at a higher cultivation level than him, but he cannot beat those who are at the same cultivation level as him. Even those mid-condensing reality realm geniuses would have to be very careful when taking on a 5-star white rank mission. If they are not careful enough, they could still die. Last year, Brother Yuan died on a 5-star white rank mission. Yeah, Zhong Haoren is indeed doomed. But if he can survive, his future will be limitless. That kind of life and death situation, that kind of opportunity to fight against the heavens, can only be found by chance. If he can survive it, the warriors will improve at an incredible speed. On the side, Yi Chen seemed to be thinking about something. He did not expect that Zhong Haoren, who had just become an inner disciple, would put his life on the line. It was like he was joking with his own life. This kind of person was definitely scary, because they were not afraid of death. They pursued the most primitive power, they did not care about life and death. Similarly, Zhong Haoren and Yi Chen could be said to be very similar in some aspects. Both of them worked hard but were not blind. The first time he took on a 3-star white rank mission, he wanted to accumulate experience and familiarize himself with the process of the mission. The second time he took on a 4-star white rank mission, he wanted to level up step by step and feel his limits. When he reached his limits, he would challenge a 5-star white rank mission, breaking through his limits and achieving the greatest transformation. Imperceptibly, Yi Chen had already placed Zhong Haoren on the same level as the 4 great young masters. This level wasn't based on strength, but talent, and willpower. Zhong Haoren's willpower was undoubtedly appreciated and recognized by Yi Chen. As for Yi Chen himself, time would prove. Arriving at the Soaring Cloud Hall, Yi Chen headed straight for the side hall. "Deacon, I'm here to hand in my mission." There were many attendants in the Floating Cloud Palace. These attendants were not very strong, and their main job was to help the Flowing Cloud sect with missions. The middle-aged deacon sitting at the table nodded. "Where's the mission form and proof?" "Here they are." Yi Chen put the mission form and the head of the Bloody Butcher on the table. The middle-aged deacon glanced at the mission form, then immediately opened the black cloth that was wrapped around the head. After a while, he said, "Not bad, it is indeed the Bloody Butcher. Congratulations on completing the mission. What's your name?" "Yi Chen." "Wait, let me see." After becoming an inner disciple, all personal information would be sent to the Floating Cloud Palace for the deacon to look for. Soon, the middle-aged deacon found Yi Chen's information. He then took out a black leather book from the drawer and started to record Yi Chen's information and mission results. Name, Yi Chen. Age, 15. Identity, Yi family's disciple, inner disciple assessment, excellent mission result, 3-star white rank mission. Once take a look and see if there's anything wrong with it. The middle-aged deacon pushed the black leather book towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen only glanced at it and nodded, "Yes." "Okay, now let's talk about the reward. Maybe you have just become an inner disciple, so you don't know much about this. According to the rules of the Sky Cloud Martial School, the school will take 30% of the reward for white rank missions, 25% for gray rank missions, and 20% for black rank missions. The reward for killing the Bloody Butcher is 4,000 gold, so after taking 30%, there will be 2,800 gold left." The middle-aged deacon put the black leather book back into the drawer and explained. Taking 30% of the reward was very high, but it was understandable. After all, the school had trained you for so long, so you should be contributing to the school. Plus, when you killed the target of a mission, You would usually get extra income, and sometimes the extra income was even more than the reward itself. After receiving the 2,800 gold notes from the middle-aged deacon, Yi Chen left the side palace. On the first day, Yi Chen did not accept any mission. The second day was the same. On the third day, the floating cloud palace became very lively. Zhong Haoran, who was thought to be dead, came back alive. He was covered in blood, and his murderous aura could be felt from far away. It attracted a lot of inner disciples to come and watch. Wu Zongming, who had already returned, had a complicated expression on his face. If this continued, he would never be able to catch up with Zhong Haoran. Zhong Haoran's determination had shocked even him. Wiping the blood off his face, Zhong Haoran looked around and found Yi Chen. He grinned and said, "Yi Chen, I will be waiting for you in the ranking competition." Who is Yi Chen? Why did Zhong Haoran say he would be waiting for Yi Chen? Is he that powerful? It seems like Yi Chen had just become an inner disciple. How come he made Zhong Haoran pay so much attention to him? Hearing this, a lot of inner disciples were confused. Most of them did not see the battle between Zhong Haoran and Yi Chen. Plus, they were all very busy, so they had not heard about it. However, after this battle, they just needed to ask around, and they would be able to figure it out. Yi Chen said seriously, "Of course." Time flew, and another half a month had passed. During this period of time, Yi Chen had only accepted one 4-star white rank mission, and spent the rest of his time on training. As for why he did not accept 5-star white rank missions, it was because these kinds of missions were not always available. They were either too easy, which was below 4-star white rank, or too difficult, which was a grey rank mission, which was too time-consuming. More importantly, he could feel that his pure Junjin Qi was about to break through to the 7th stage. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by, and the earlier he made it, the faster he trained, the later it would be a waste of time. On this day, a big event that shocked the entire Windy Nation had reached the Sky Cloud Martial School. After many interactions, Yi Chen also learned about the details of the event. The Evil Earth Martial School, which was located in the northwest of the Windy Nation, had been wiped out overnight. None of the 78 clasping Yuan realm martial artists survived, and over 1,000 of their disciples had died. Only a few of them managed to escape. When he heard the news, the first thing that came to Yi Chen's mind was the 5 Ghosts coffin-carrying incident. The Evil Earth Martial School and the Sky Cloud Martial School were both rank 9 institutions, but the latter was the most powerful among the rank 9 institutions. It was not even weaker than the rank 8 institutions. Because it was not easy to increase one's rank, it would take a long time to be verified, and that was why the Sky Cloud Martial School was still a rank 9 institution. Otherwise, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not be listed among the 3 great sects. After all, there were already 4 rank 9 institutions in the Windy Nation. If the Sky Cloud Martial School was not powerful enough, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not even have a chance. In everyone's eyes, the Sky Cloud Martial School was no different than a rank 8 institution. Even so, the annihilation of the 9th grade sect, the Earthfiend sect, still left everyone dumbfounded and terrified. Chapter 68. The Evil Earth Martial School had 24 inner masters, all of whom were above the mid-clasping Yuan realm. The leader of the school, Jiang Tianshuo, had even reached the peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm. His weapon was a rare legendary weapon, the Sun Moon Wheel. With the combination of the 2 weapons, even the leaders of the top 5 martial schools would not dare to underestimate him. It would take hundreds of attacks to decide the winner, and it would be a problem if they could escape unscathed. Such a powerful martial school had been slaughtered in one night. Yi Chen was even more certain that the person in the coffin was an astral-reaching realm warrior, and not just a normal early astral-reaching realm warrior, because an early astral-reaching realm warrior was not powerful enough to slaughter a rank 9 martial school, even with the help of 5 late-clasping Yuan realm warriors. Shaking his head, Yi Chen knew that he did not have the right to worry about these things. Right now, the only thing he could do was to increase his cultivation as fast as possible, in order to protect himself in the future. The news of the Evil Earth Martial School being destroyed had not only reached the Sky Cloud Martial School, but also the other martial schools. All of a sudden, the whole Windy Nation was in a state of panic. The condensing Evil Mountain, Where the evil Earth Martial School was located, the whole mountain was covered with corpses. There were outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, deacons, outer masters, inner masters, family members of the elders, and the family members of the leaders. All of them were lying on the ground with their eyes wide open. Their bodies looked like dried corpses, which was extremely horrifying. In the middle of the welcoming plaza, a huge human figure stood there, not moving at all. Looking closer, one would realize that he was already dead. There was a bowl-sized bloody hole on his muscular chest. His heart had been taken out, and the blood had dried up long ago. The sticky substance inside his body had a deathly grey color. If someone with a bit of knowledge was here, they would definitely recognize that the corpse standing there was indeed Jiang Tianxia, the leader of the evil Earth Martial School. A peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm warrior had his heart taken out by someone else. After an unknown period of time, a red dot appeared in the east sky. The red light was getting brighter and brighter, dyeing the surrounding air into a different color. Looking over, one could see a human figure wrapped in the red light, flying towards them at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Shoo! The red light landed on the welcoming plaza, circled around the human figure for a couple of times, and then suddenly disappeared. Annihilating the entire clan in one night? Who did it? The silhouette stood with his hands behind his back. Looking closely, he seemed to be in his 40s. His joints were huge, and he looked like a tiger or a dragon. It was the leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Luo Xinglie. Among the top 5 martial institutions, the Sky Cloud Martial School and the North Snow Martial Academy were the closest to the evil Earth Martial School. After knowing the news, Luo Xinglie came out of his closed-door training immediately. He had traveled tens of thousands of miles to find some clues, so that he could be prepared for the future. He reached out and grabbed at Jiang Tianxia's chest. Traces of deathly aura were sucked over. Kai, the deathly grey qi was extremely poisonous, as it kept corroding Luo Xinglie's Jin qi. Luo Xinglie sneered, as a red light appeared on his palm, burning the deathly grey qi into nothingness. Just when he was about to investigate further, Luo Xinglie suddenly raised his head and looked towards the northeast. The white clouds in the sky were cut in half. A figure shot over fiercely. Everything in his way was sliced apart by the invisible saber qi, including the formless air. Patter. A man landed 10 meters to the right of Luo Xinglie. The man was wearing a snow-white robe, and he had no facial hair. He was also standing with his hands behind his back. His saber qi was flying all over the place, shooting up into the sky with an unbelievable power. Shui Wuren, your saber intent is even more powerful than 3 years ago. Luo Xinglie looked at him seriously and said slowly. The middle-aged man in white smiled lightly. The saber intent is shapeless, and it might become dull one day. Plus, your great Luo godly art is already at the 11th level. Luo Xinglie did not say anything. The man in front of him was the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, Shui Wuren. He had trained his qi when he was 9, reached the condensing reality realm when he was 16, and reached the clasping Yuan realm when he was 28. Judging from the data, he was not talented at all, and could not even be compared to normal geniuses. However, that was the reason why Luo Xinglie was shocked. When he reached the mid-clasping Yuan realm, he had learned the 1 in a million saber intent. Once the saber intent was released, even the gods and ghosts would not be able to see through him. 3 years ago, Luo Xinglie did not have the confidence to beat him. 3 years later, Shui Wuren had become even more powerful. Luo Xinglie had to admit that if the two of them were to fight, his chance of winning would not be higher than 45%. Of course, he had his ace attacks, but it was hard to guarantee that Shui Wuren did not. Shui Wuren looked at Jiang Tianxia's dead body and asked, "Did you find anything?" Luo Xinglie let out a long breath. "I found something." There was an extremely evil qi inside Jiang Tianxia's body, and it had not dissipated even after half a month. Oh! Shui Wuren's eyebrows twitched. The training method of the evil Earth Martial School was different from the other martial institutions. They mixed their Jin qi with evil qi, which was extremely aggressive. Normally, evil qi would not work on them. What was even more unbelievable was that Jiang Tianxia was the #1 expert in evil qi in the entire Windy Nation. Who could kill him with evil qi and leave it in his body for half a month? Also, look at Jiang Tiansha's expression. He was shocked, but also impressed. Obviously, he had encountered something that even he could not help but admire. Therefore, I think an old monster has come out of hiding. As a peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm warrior, Luo Xinglie was very observant. He was able to figure out the truth from the most basic information, which was very different from his bulky and aggressive appearance. Hearing him, Xue Wuren's expression changed slightly. An old monster has come out of hiding, are you sure? 70 to 80% sure. Otherwise, who could kill the entire evil Earth Martial School in one night and surpass Jiang Tiansha in terms of evil qi? Xue Wuren nodded slightly and sighed. If this is the case, the Windy Nation is going to change. Luo Xinglie sneered. He raised his head and said, Tu Chongshan is here. Long Bai is here as well. And, that Zhuang Qingxian did not come, but sent a master to fool us. It seems like he does not care about us at all. Xue Wuren's perception was not any weaker than Luo Xinglie's. He raised his head and squinted his eyes. In the southeast direction, a golden halo pierced through the clouds and melted the air. It was like a huge fireball was shooting towards them. Thunders could be heard one after another. It was horrifying. In the south direction, the rain was pouring down. In the rain, a beautiful woman was walking on the water with an umbrella in her hand. She was moving at a very fast speed, but it looked like she was taking a stroll in the park. In the west, there was an elderly man walking on a beam of light. He looked very arrogant, but his speed was slightly slower than the other two. Shoo! The first one to arrive was the beautiful woman with an umbrella. Her hair was like a waterfall, her body was alluring. She was wearing a blue dress that looked like flowing water, without a single speck of dust on it. You two are early. The beautiful woman put away her umbrella and said with a smile. Luo Xinglie said, the South Rudra Martial School's godly water spell is indeed worthy of its name. I, Luo Xinglie, have really opened my eyes. The beautiful woman was none other than the leader of the South Rudra Martial School, one of the top 3 martial institutions, Long Bai. She was the youngest among the 5 leaders, around 30 years old. However, her background was quite mysterious. No one knew where she was born, and no one knew where she learned all of her martial arts from. Chapter 69. Long Bai said jokingly, no matter how powerful the godly water spell is, how could it compete with Tu Chongshan's sunlight great art? Of course, there is also Brother Luo's great Rudra god art. The sunlight great art and the great Rudra god art both contained fire power. The former was like a burning sun, burning everything in its path. It also had an explosive power, while the latter did not have yin and yang, it could be hard and soft at the same time. Xue Wuren shook his head. You are the most mysterious one among us. Who would dare to say that they could win against you? Not to mention the others, I could not handle Brother Xue's blade intent alone. Long Bai did not know if it was just her nature, or if she was just being humble. She kept putting herself down and elevating the others. However, Luo Xinglie and Xue Wuren would not dare to underestimate her because of this. Otherwise, they would die a horrible death. A few years ago, a peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm warrior from the Rudra Nation saw Long Bai's beauty. He could not help but want to marry her. After being rejected by Long Bai, he did not know what to do and suggested a martial arts competition. If she lost, she would become his woman. If she won, he would leave immediately. 10 attacks, with only 10 attacks, that Rudra Nation warrior had lost completely. He had lost all hope, and that was even because Long Bai did not use all of her power. From then on, no one dared to underestimate Long Bai, this mysterious woman. Ha 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 ha, I, Tu Chongshan, am here. The golden halo broke through the air and attacked towards Luo Xinglie without slowing down. All of a sudden, the intense heat filled the whole plaza, as if a huge star had fallen from the sky. Bastard, how dare you? Luo Xinglie's eyebrows twitched. His eyes were filled with anger. He reached out both of his arms, one above the other, as if he was hugging a huge ball. Boom! The whole mountain seemed to be shaking. The shockwave from the battle between the two had shaved off a layer of the plaza's surface, sinking 4 to 5 meters deep. Everything within 100 meters radius had been turned into ruins. Nothing was left, including Jiang Tiansha's body. Long Bai seemed to have expected it. She had put up her blue protective layer in advance, separating the incoming shockwave. Shui Wuren was a bit annoyed. He took a step forward and a huge blade chi shot out from his body, landing right in between the two. Clang! The saber chi severed the connection between the two of them. The remaining force did not dissipate and sliced off half of the malevolent Earth sect's guest hall. The cut was as smooth as a mirror. The top half slowly slid down, giving off another loud rumbling sound. Whoosh! Whoosh! Luo Xinglie and Tu Chongshan both jumped back. As soon as his feet landed on the ground, Luo Xinglie said with a low voice, "Tu Chongshan, are you crazy? If you really want to fight, then set a date." He, after not seeing you for so many years, your great Luo Shengong has become even more profound. Unfortunately, I only used the power of 9 suns just now. If I used the power of 10 suns, you would have lost for sure. Tu Chongshan patted his sleeves, without the slightest intention of apologizing. Luo Xinglie tried his best to control his emotions and sneered, "Even if you have 10 suns, so what? Do you think my Da Luo Zhenqi is just for show?" The two of them were fighting each other, neither of them willing to give in. As for when it started, they did not care anymore. It seemed like the Great Luo Shengong and the Sunlight Great Art were born to be enemies, and their cultivators had inherited this trait as well. Putting aside their disgust, the two of them were both shocked by Shui Wuren's power. Although that blade chi attack was very skillful, and it landed right at the point where their chi powers were clashing, his eyesight and timing were still very impressive. Besides that, both of them knew that Shui Wuren was at his best when he was holding the blade. Right now, he was not even serious. "Why are you two doing this? Today is not the day to fight." Long Bai walked over and tried to mediate. Tu Chongshan chuckled, "I am giving you face, but I wonder if Brother Luo would be willing to do it. After the evil Earth Martial School is done, I would like to see how powerful you are. Do you dare?" Luo Xinglie was not a man with a good temper, but today was indeed not a good day. "Why not?" Tu Chongshan squinted his eyes. Shui Wuren, who had just attacked, did not say anything. In fact, he wanted to see the battle between the two of them. People at their level would not easily fight. Soon, the elder, who was stepping on a beam of light, also arrived on the plaza. "Everyone, Jiao Tianhe is late." Facing the leaders of the 4 martial institutions, the elder did not seem to be nervous at all. Instead, he seemed to be looking down on them. Shui Wuren frowned. "Where is Zhuang Qingxian?" The elder cleared his throat. "Our leader is in closed-door training right now, and has no time for anything else. As for what happened today, you guys do not need to waste your time investigating. We, the Emerald Martial Palace, have already received some insider information." Hearing him, Shui Wuren and the other three's expressions changed. They all stared at Jiao Tianhe. Being stared at by 4 powerful warriors, even though Jiao Tianhe was at the peak of late-clasping Yuan realm, he still could not stand it. However, compared to what he was going to say next, it was not even worth mentioning. He took a deep breath, as if he had used all of his strength, and said, "Half a month ago, our Emerald Martial Palace's disciples were on a mission. They had seen 5 ghosts carrying a coffin in the night sky. Half a month later, the news of the evil Earth Martial School being destroyed spread out overnight. The 2 incidents had caught our attention. After careful investigation and analysis, we came to a conclusion. The 9 Ghost cult, which had been destroyed 20 years ago, had once again revived. This time, it should be the Ghost Artist, one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 Ghost cult. Only he likes to live in the stone coffin." Hearing him, the 4 of them were all shocked. Long Bai hurriedly said, "Are you serious?" Jiao Tianhe nodded slowly. "The 9 Ghost cult is a very serious matter. How could I joke about it? But it is not that serious right now. The 9 Ghost cult has been destroyed for all to see, and the remaining forces would not be that powerful. If I am not wrong, they are currently trying to accumulate their power, so they would not dare to challenge the top martial institutions in the South Rudra region. But The other small martial institutions might not be the same. Therefore, for the next 3 to 5 years, we can rest easy. After that, the whole South Rudra region will be facing a serious challenge. 3 to 5 years, who could say for sure? Once they had destroyed some of the small martial institutions and accumulated enough wealth, the big martial institutions would be the ones to suffer. Everyone knew about the horrifying power of the Nine Ghost cult back in the day. It was as powerful as all the martial institutions in the whole South Rudra region combined. If it were not for the help from outside forces, the whole South Rudra region, which contained dozens of countries, might have already fallen into the Nine Ghost cult's control. Compared to the Nine Ghost cult, the Windy Nation was only a small ant, and the top 5 martial institutions were not even ants. As for that Ghost Corpse man, he was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult. His power was not that powerful in the Nine Ghost cult, but in the Windy Nation, he was invincible. Since he had not done anything yet, it should be because he had been badly wounded back then, and had not recovered yet. Otherwise, it would not be just the evil Earth Martial School that would be slaughtered, but one of the top 5 martial institutions. Woo! Woo! The cold wind was blowing, and everyone's heart sank. Chapter 70. Night. Yi Chen, who was sitting on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes. He waved his hand, and a chi sword made of chi appeared and shot out. Swoosh! The wall was like a piece of tofu, it was easily pierced through, leaving a small hole on the wall. My pure Junjin chi has finally reached the 7th stage. The peak of the 6th stage and the 7th stage were only one small step apart, but the difference in power was like heaven and earth. If the chi light was a normal sword, then the chi sword would be a real great sword. Not only could it cut through iron like it was mud, but it could also kill a mortal realm warrior from 100 steps away as easily as eating or drinking. Getting off the bed, Yi Chen jumped through the door and came out of the yard. Looking around, there was also a hole on the 1-foot-thick wall. Yi Chen did not know where the chi sword had landed, but he hoped that it did not hurt anyone. The next morning. In the floating cloud palace. There are no more 5-star white rank missions. In front of the white jade wall on the right side of the door, Yi Chen frowned. He was planning to take on a 5-star white rank mission to practice and earn some money. But now, it seemed that this 5-star white rank mission was very popular and rare. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen walked into the palace and stopped in front of the grey jade wall. Does this brat want to die? Even the top 200 inner disciples have to be careful about grey rank missions. He is only at the early condensing reality realm, and he dares to take a mission. Maybe he is just here to have a look, I don't think he has the guts to take it. A few inner disciples nearby noticed Yi Chen, their eyes lit up, and they started to whisper to each other. Yi Chen did not care about other people's opinions. With his power, taking a grey rank mission was not too much. According to the difficulty of the mission, if the condensing reality realm warriors could be divided into 15 stars, then he should be at least 5 stars. On the grey jade wall, there were quite a lot of missions. After a while, Yi Chen found a mission that he was satisfied with. The 4th line was the 3rd mission. Mission: protect the herb collecting team from the Ling family in the Red Blood Forest. Without much hesitation, Yi Chen tore off the mission sheet. What? He really accepted it. That's a 2-star grey rank mission. This mission only needs 5 people. Even if he goes, he will only be humiliating himself. I hope that during the selection, he will not bring shame to our Sky Cloud Martial School. The Purple Sun Martial School and our Sky Cloud Martial School have always been at loggerheads. Whenever they have the chance, they would humiliate us to death. Plus, the Emerald Martial Palace has always been arrogant, so our chances are even lower. Under everyone's speechless gaze, Yi Chen walked out of the soaring cloud hall. At the bottom of the mountain, Yi Chen jumped onto his horse and galloped out. The Ling family was a small family in the Black Rock City. Their main business was herb collecting and medicine making. There were not many powerful warriors in the family, only 2 early clasping Yuan realm warriors and dozens of condensing reality realm warriors. Compared to the top 8 families, the Ling family was extremely weak. Because of this, the Ling family decided to hire disciples from the martial schools to protect the herb collecting team. After all, there were a lot of geniuses in the martial schools, and it was normal for them to be able to fight those with higher cultivation than them. A mid-condensing reality realm warrior was even more powerful than a late-condensing reality realm warrior from the Ling family, and his martial skills were much more powerful. However, a small family was still a small family after all. They did not have a lot of resources, so they could not afford to hire disciples from the martial schools. In the end, they decided to select the 5 temporary guards. In the afternoon, Yi Chen rushed to the Black Rock City and headed to the Ling family in the northern district. At this moment, the Ling family was quite lively. Dozens of handsome young people had gathered in the training field. Among them, there were inner disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace in green, inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy in white, inner disciples from the Purple Sun Martial School in purple, inner disciples from the Rudra Martial School in blue, and inner disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School in white. Besides them, there were also quite a lot of inner disciples from other martial schools, more than 10 of them in total. There were more than 20 people gathered here, which made everyone in the Ling family feel quite emotional. If these people were all disciples of the Ling family could become a mid-level family within 10 years, and maybe even a big family. Unfortunately, it was just a dream, it would never come true. Everyone, our Ling family's herb collecting team will enter the Red Blood Forest tomorrow morning. Therefore, before this evening, we will select the 5 temporary guards. For those who are not selected, I will not mistreat them. You will get good food and a good place to stay here. I am sure you will be satisfied. The one who spoke was the leader of the Ling family, Ling Tiannan, who was in his 40s and was at the early clasping Yuan realm. Hearing him, one of the inner disciples from the Rudra Martial School asked, "Leader Ling, what are the rules?" "Let's hear it." Ling Tiannan smiled and said, "It is not practical for us to fight one by one, therefore, I have adopted a mixed battle rule. Look at the training field, there is a white circle over there. Later on, all of you will enter it and start the mixed battle. Those who leave the circle will be disqualified, and the remaining 5 people will be the temporary guards of this herb collecting team." Clearing his throat, Ling Tiannan continued, "For the sake of fairness, during the mixed battle, no one is allowed to bully the other, it has to be one-on-one. When the others are fighting, you can only look for the other person, you are not allowed to step in. I hope everyone will remember this." Everyone looked over and saw that there was indeed a huge circle drawn with white paint on the training field. It was about 5 zhong wide and could barely accommodate more than 20 people fighting inside. However, when the fight started, the wind generated from the palm strikes and fists would inevitably affect others. It could be said that it was extremely difficult. All right, a challenge, I like it. The inner disciple from the Emerald Martial Palace, who was wearing a green robe, nodded and looked down at the crowd with an arrogant face. The inner disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School did not want to be left behind. "Our Purple Sun Martial School's martial arts are all about fighting. We love this kind of mixed battle the most. Haha, the disciples of the North Snow Martial Academy are not afraid of anyone." The same goes for the Rudra Martial School. When it came to the inner disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School, everyone sneered with disdain. These few disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were not even worth mentioning. The most powerful one among them was only at the mid-condensing reality realm, and they were not famous at all. It seemed like they were only here to join in the fun and raise the status of the others. Besides the top 5 martial institutions, the disciples from the other martial institutions did not have much confidence, but thinking that they might be able to take the position of the Sky Cloud Martial School, they all felt a bit more confident. 5 temporary guards, count me in. Right at this moment, a clear voice came from outside the training field. Ling Tiannan looked over, and could not help but feel a bit disappointed. What the hell is the Sky Cloud Martial School doing? They only sent some ordinary people here, and this guy is even more arrogant, he is only at the early condensing reality realm. Chapter 71. It was indeed Yi Chen. He was not very familiar with the Black Rock City, and he did not remember any shortcuts. Therefore, he was a step behind the other inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Luckily, he had asked for directions on the way, so he was able to arrive at the Black Rock City in 3 days. Seeing that the selection had not started yet, Yi Chen cupped his hands and said, "I am Yi Chen, a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Nice to meet you, leader of the Ling family." Ling Tiannan forced a smile and said, "If you were a step late, the selection would have started." Just then, a disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School said sarcastically, "Actually, it doesn't matter if you come or not. But, you can stay at the Ling family's house for free for one night." Hehe, in my mind, the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School always like to take advantage of others. Indeed, seeing you in person is not as good as hearing about you. Another disciple from the Emerald Martial Palace interrupted. "You." The disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were not happy. "What do you mean we like to take advantage of others? Are you sure you will win?" At the same time, they started to hate Yi Chen. "If you want to come, then come. Why are you talking so arrogantly?" The disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy and the South Rudra Martial School chose to watch from the sidelines. However, deep down, they felt sorry for the disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School and Yi Chen. As for the other disciples, they all had a gloating look on their faces. Yi Chen sneered and said, "Who likes to take advantage of others? You will find out later. Right now, your words are just bullshit. You are looking for death." Hearing this, a disciple from the Purple Sun Martial Palace could not hold it in anymore. A tall teenager walked out from the crowd. He was 1 meter and 90 centimeters tall, with a thick neck and a pair of arms that were thicker than ordinary people's thighs. Obviously, he was an extremely powerful warrior. A burning hot chi rose from his body, making him look like a man on fire. He walked towards Yi Chen step by step. At the same time, a teenager from the Emerald Martial Palace also walked out. He looked ordinary, but his aura was no weaker than the tall teenager's. Within a flash, he had already reached 3 steps in front of Yi Chen. His glaze-colored Jin Qi was bursting out, containing an immeasurable explosive power. One on the left and one on the right, the two of them stared at Yi Chen like tigers watching their prey, wanting to embarrass him in front of everyone. Hehe, this Yi Chen has angered Wang Kunyang from the Purple Sun Martial School and Xiao Lai from the Emerald Martial Palace. I'm afraid he won't have a good ending. Wang Kunyang is at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. He is only 1 step away from the late condensing reality realm. Added with his 10,000 pounds of strength, normal late condensing reality realm warriors are no match for him. And that Xiao Lai is even scarier. His speed is unparalleled. Whenever he attacks, he will either tear the body apart or break the limbs. His nickname is the Body-Tearing Killer. I don't think they'll fight. No matter what, Ling Tiannan is still the head of the Ling family. How could he just watch this happen? Now that you mention it, you're right. Sigh, what a pity. While everyone was talking, Wang Kunyang and Xiao Lai's aura was getting stronger. They slightly raised their heads and looked at Yi Chen with disdain. Just when Yi Chen was about to lose his temper and teach them a lesson, Ling Tiannan stood up. Wait, the selection is about to start. Please give me some face and don't start a fight right now. Ling Tiannan was having a headache. All of the martial disciples were extremely arrogant, and it was hard to control them. What made him speechless was that this Yi Chen from the Sky Cloud Martial School was just too arrogant. He could have messed with anyone, but he chose to mess with the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School. Everyone knew that the disciples from these 2 martial institutions would not let anything happen to them. Once the selection was over, Ling Tiannan was going to suffer a lot. But it had nothing to do with him. The competition between the martial disciples had always been intense, and it was not something that he could interfere with. I will give you some face for the head of the Ling family. Once the selection is over, I will make you kneel on the ground and lick my boots. Wang Kunyang spat on the ground and stared at Yi Chen. He then retracted his aura and went back to the group of Purple Sun Martial School disciples. Xiao Lai said in a creepy tone, I have to say, you are very lucky. If it were not for the head of the Ling family, one of your arms would have been broken. Shoo. Xiao Lai's silhouette quickly faded away. He had somehow gone back to the group of Emerald Martial Palace disciples, leaving only a blur behind. On the other side, the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School were discussing with each other in a low voice. What should we do? This Yi Chen is our disciple after all. If he gets bullied by others, we will all lose face. What can we do? It is his fault for not restraining himself. Unless our senior brothers and sisters are here, we will all be in trouble. Damn it. Why can't I be more powerful? Stop dreaming. Let's try our best to get a spot first. Yi Chen, who was about to attack, was expressionless. To be honest, he was irritated by the attitude of the two. It was the first time that he had felt how intense the competition between the martial disciples was. However, he was not like the other disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Anyone who messed with him would be beaten down by him. Dad, has the selection started? Under the intense atmosphere, a soft voice came. It was like an aureole, like a wind chime, extremely pleasant to listen to. Ling Tiannan turned his head in surprise and said helplessly, Xiaoxue, didn't I tell you to stay inside? I also want to see how good the martial disciples are. Since I am the leader of the herb collecting team tomorrow, why can't I? Outside of the training field, a 16-year-old girl slowly walked over. She was very pretty, and she was wearing a pink dress. Her slim body was like a willow in the wind. Smiling bitterly, Ling Tiannan introduced her to the crowd. This is my daughter, Lin Xiaoxue. She is also the leader of the herb collecting team tomorrow. Miss Lin, don't worry. With me, Wang Kunyang, protecting you, you will be safe. Wang Kunyang patted his chest and said loudly. Lin Xiaoxue raised her pretty eyebrows, smiled and said, thank you very much. Now let's confirm the 5 temporary guards. Ling Tiannan nodded. The selection starts now. Everyone, please enter the white circle. Hearing him, the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial Palace were the first ones to enter the white circle. They stared at the others with evil intentions, as if they already had the victory in their hands. The disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were all wearing white robes. Their aura was no weaker than the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial Palace. They were the only ones that the disciples from the 2 martial institutions were afraid of. The disciples from the South Rudra Martial School had always been low-key, but no one dared to look down on them. Their relationship with the other martial institutions was neither good nor bad. When it was the Sky Cloud Martial School's turn, Wang Kunyang sneered and said, "What are you doing in here? You will still get the fuck out later. But that brat has to come in, so I don't have to go find him." With their heads down, the Sky Cloud Martial School's disciples still entered the circle. The other martial institutions' disciples were not targeted. After all, they were way too weak, so there was no point in targeting them. After everyone had entered, Ling Tiannan took a deep breath and said, "The selection starts now." Boom, boom, boom. Almost at the same time Ling Tiannan spoke, the people in the circle had already started fighting. The powerful Zhen Qi gathered into a huge river, blowing a few people away. Chapter 72. Lin Xiaoxue turned around and asked Lin Tiannan, "Dad, you always said that the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the North Snow Martial Academy were powerful. Then why did you send the mission to the other martial institutions?" Lin Tiannan explained, "What we think is one thing, and what we actually do is another. We are only a small family, we need to build a good relationship with every martial institution. If we only send the mission to the Emerald Martial Palace and the North Snow Martial Academy, and some people find out, the other martial institutions would not want to be friends with us anymore. Their disciples would also hate us and cause us trouble. Therefore, you have to remember, when it comes to all the big martial institutions, you have to be fair. Do not show any favoritism." "Yes, I understand," Lin Xiaoxue said thoughtfully. Ling Tiannan smiled. Although this trip to the Red Blood Forest is dangerous, it is also a good opportunity to build a good relationship with the disciples of the sect. Some of them might even become inner elders of the sect in the future, rising up to the heavens. "Then Dad, who do you think is better? Xiao Lai from the Emerald Martial Palace is not bad, but he is a bit too cruel, which might cause him trouble in the future. Wang Kunyang from the Purple Sun Martial School is very aggressive, but he does not know how to control himself. I can't really comment on the disciples from the Rudra Martial School. As for the Sky Cloud Martial School, never mind, let's talk about the disciple from the North Snow Martial Academy. The disciple named Wang Feng from the North Snow Martial Academy is very good. Wang Feng? Lin Xiaoxue looked confused. She glanced at the people who were fighting. By then, there were already 7 or 8 people who had been blown out of the white circle. Most of them were from small martial institutions, but there was also one disciple from a big martial institution, who happened to be from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Boom! In the crowd, a teenager from the North Snow Martial Academy exchanged a palm attack with a disciple from the Rudra Martial School. The power of their palms collided and created a huge shockwave that spread out in all directions. All of a sudden, another 3 people were blown out of the white circle. What surprised a lot of people was that Yi Chen, who had the lowest cultivation, was still standing in the middle of the white circle. He did not move at all, as if the shockwave had not affected him at all. Hey! Lin Tiannan and Lin Xiaoxue were shocked. Their attention was originally on the cold-looking teenager Wang Feng, but Yi Chen's performance soon caught their attention. This person was not that simple after all. Wang Kuanyang was also surprised. After easily knocking away a disciple from a small martial institution, Wang Kuanyang changed his target and rushed towards Yi Chen. He grinned and said, "Little brat, kowtow to me and lick my shoes now, then we can still talk. Otherwise, I will make you vomit 3 liters of blood today." Light yellow Zhen Qi exploded violently. Wang Kunyang took 3 steps at a time. He flew towards Yi Chen like a thunderbolt. His right palm was hidden behind his waist. There was a yellow flame hidden in his palm. "If you survive 3 punches from me, I'll spare your life." Facing the aggressive Wang Kunyang, Yi Chen was not afraid at all. He had made up his mind that he would use all of his power to attack Wang Kunyang. If Wang Kunyang could withstand his attacks, then it would be fine. If Wang Kunyang could not withstand his attacks, then he deserved it. There had been disciples who were killed in the past anyway. It did not matter if there was 1 more or 1 less disciple. The Purple Sun Martial School would not be able to punish them. Wang Kuanyang was so angry that his 3 corpses jumped up. He clenched his right fist and the yellow flame merged with the tip of his fist. "You are looking for death. Great Sun Fire Fist." Compared to Yi Jun's Great Sun Fire Fist, Wang Kunyang's Great Sun Fire Fist was way more aggressive and hotter. Once he threw out a punch, it was like a huge sun that could burn everything in its path. All of the disciples who were close to Yi Chen hurried to jump out of the way in case they were caught in the fire. Yi Chen stood where he was without moving. He waited until Wang Kunyang's fist was 3 feet away from his body before he threw out a punch. The blue flame on his fist was burning brightly, leaving behind a beautiful blue light tail. All of a sudden, a tiger's roar shook the sky. The blue light was like a dragon, attacking with an unstoppable momentum. Top-rank Mortal Realm martial skill, Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. The 2 fists clashed against each other. The yellow and blue light intertwined with each other, continuously clashing and exploding, creating a firework-like explosion. Pooh! To everyone's surprise, Wang Kuanyang was the first one to break down. The clothes on his right arm suddenly exploded, revealing his muscular arm. Then, blood started to ooze out of his arm, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard from within. Wang Kunyang could not help but puke out a mouthful of blood. He was blown away. "Where do you think you are going?" Yi Chen did not want to let him go so easily. He moved his feet and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already very close to Wang Kunyang's body, keeping the same speed as Wang Kunyang. Raising his fist, Yi Chen threw out 2 punches at Wang Kunyang's chest. Boom! Wang Kunyang's fist sank an inch deep into Wang Kunyang's chest, and the sound of his ribs breaking could be heard clearly. No! Wang Kunyang puked out a mouthful of blood. He could not control his body anymore. He flew out of the white circle and crashed into the wall of the Ling family's house. The wall collapsed, and Wang Kunyang's body was buried in it. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Silence. Absolute silence. It was dead silent as everyone stared at Yi Chen in a daze. Without giving the others time to be shocked, Yi Chen turned around and sneered at Xiao Lai. "Didn't you say you wanted to break my arms and legs? I would like to see the difference between your so-called broken arms and legs and my understanding." Ling Tiannan was shocked. Is this Yi Chen trying to kill Xiao Lai? Xiao Lai swallowed, pretended to be calm and said, "You don't even know that you are in big trouble. Do you know that Wang Kunyang is an important disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School? Even if you kill him, you won't be able to live. If you admit your mistake now, you might still have a chance to live. Otherwise, you will die." Yi Chen did not care about Xiao Lai's threat at all. My Sky Cloud Martial School has lost many disciples. Last year, Brother Wu was killed by your Emerald Martial Palace's disciples, and Brother Fei was crippled by your Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. Sister Miao was also turned into an idiot by the Purple Sun Martial Palace's disciples. Now, I only crippled Wang Kunyang, who has the right to criticize me. My principle is that a dead genius is no longer a genius, only a living genius. Today, you will not be able to escape from my 3 punches. If you don't die, I will let you go. As soon as he finished talking, Yi Chen performed his crane shadow steps and dashed towards Xiao Lai without leaving a trace. Xiao Lai lost track of Yi Chen in an instant. He felt numb in his scalp. He did not think that his attacking power was stronger than Wang Kunyang's. If Wang Kunyang could not even take 1 punch from him, then Xiao Lai would definitely not be able to. The only thing he could do now was to use his speed to escape, and then find a chance to take revenge in the future. He wanted to kill Yi Chen while he was still young. Don't ever doubt his determination. The Emerald Martial Palace's disciples had plenty of ways to kill other martial institutions' disciples. Shoo. Xiao Lai did not care about whether he would be disqualified or not. He directly shot towards the outside of the white circle. He sneered in his mind, "You want to hurt me? Dream on. Stay." Seeing that Xiao Lai was about to leave the white circle, Yi Chen raised his hand and shot out 5 sharp chi swords, blocking Xiao Lai's way. Chapter 73. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The speed of the chi sword was very fast. Everyone could only see 5 thin lines flashing by. Xiao Lai's chest, shoulder, waist, and abdomen were bleeding, and his body staggered. Not good, chi sword. Xiao Lai was shocked. If he did not stop for a while, there would have been a few bloody holes on his body. Even if he did not die, he would be crippled. Clear Jade Chi Art. Very afraid of Yi Chen's chi sword attack, Xiao Lai immediately performed a top-rank Mortal Realm defense art from the Emerald Martial Palace, Clear Jade Chi Art. All of a sudden, a green chi flow appeared around Xiao Lai's body, like a thin crystal. Ding ding ding. Yi Chen's second round of chi sword hit on the chi flow and made a sound of metal clashing. They could not go any further and were all bounced off. Body dismemberment hand. After successfully blocking Yi Chen's attack, Xiao Lai turned around and threw out a claw attack. Ka lo lo. The ground was cracked by the claw power, and 5 curved blades of chi cut through the air, trying to cover Yi Chen. Traceless crane shadow, dragon in the sky. Yi Chen's body blurred in midair, and as he avoided the claw power, he appeared in the sky in front of Xiao Lai and threw out a punch. The strong blue light was blinding, and it was accompanied by a powerful tiger roar. When Xiao Lai got used to it, a flying dragon made of blue chi suddenly appeared in front of him. It was 18 meters long, shaking its head and tail, with sharp claws. It rushed towards Xiao Lai. "I will kill you." Xiao Lai's eyes were wide open, and he did not retreat. His arms were like a big ball, and he blocked the blue flying dragon's attack. Boom, 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 boom. Every time Xiao Lai took a step back, the ground under his feet would explode. After 10 steps, his whole body was blown into the air, and the blue light around him had dimmed a lot. 2 more punches. Yi Chen did not care about the fact that the Tiger Roar Dragon Fist would consume a lot of Jin Chi. He threw out another 2 ace attacks. The blue chi dragons intertwined together and swallowed Xiao Lai up in the air, then carried his body up into the sky, making him look like a real flying dragon. Bang! A huge blue firework bloomed and dyed the nearby air into a different color. Not long after, a shadow landed near Wang Kunyang. Who? Yi Chen let out a long breath. The Tiger Roar Dragon Fist was a top-rank Mortal Realm fist art that he had chosen when he was choosing his pure Jun Jin Chi, and he had already trained it to the peak of completion half a month ago. As for the dragon in the sky, it was one of the killing moves of the Tiger Raw Dragon Fist. It consumed a lot of Zhen Qi. Only 3 punches were equivalent to dozens of normal punches. Of course, it was also very powerful. Even if it was not as powerful as a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill, it was not far from it. But then again, Xiao Lai was a mid-condensing reality realm warrior after all. He had the Jade Qing Qi art, which was a defensive martial art. It would be very difficult to hurt him with a long-range attack. If he had to blame something, he could only blame himself for not being able to dodge the first dragon in the sky, which had weakened his defense a lot. How could he block the next 2 punches? Looking up, Yi Chen noticed that many people were staring at him with their mouths agape, as if they were looking at a monster. 2 mid-condensing reality realm warriors couldn't even take 3 punches from him, am I right? So powerful. When did the Sky Cloud Martial School have such a monster? When he reaches the mid-condensing reality realm, he won't even be afraid of late-condensing reality realm warriors. Of course he won't be afraid. He had defeated 2 geniuses who were at a higher cultivation level than him. This kind of power is no longer a simple battle. The rest of the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School all had the same thought in their minds: we can't let this guy live, otherwise he will become a powerful enemy in the future. I have to go back and inform my senior brothers and sisters, and ask them to secretly kill him. We can't let him continue to grow. The only ones who were happy were the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Inside the martial school, although the competition was intense, it was not to the extent of death or disability. But outside the martial school, the competition was 10 times more intense. Many geniuses of the Sky Cloud Martial School had been killed by assassinations, which was quite a pity. But now, another inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School had risen up. How could they not be happy? After all, the more powerful their martial brothers and sisters were, the more face they would have when they walked outside, and more or less, it would be more or less a deterrent. On the other hand, it would be just like before, being laughed at by the other martial schools, but not daring to talk back. Well done, senior brother Yi. These Sky Cloud Martial School disciples did not have to call Yi Chen their teacher, but they should still call him senior brother. It would not be an insult to them. Yi Chen did not change his expression. He turned around and said to the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School, "Do you want to walk out of the circle yourself, or do you want me to invite you out? Don't you dare." Someone could not let go of his pride. He subconsciously blurted out. Boom. That person's vision blurred, and Yi Chen's fist had already landed on his body, sending him flying. Seeing this, the rest of the people did not dare to say anything anymore. They all jumped out of the white circle. Yi Chen, you are so dead. My martial brothers and sisters will not let you go. No matter how powerful you are only an early condensing reality realm warrior. If you encounter a late condensing reality realm warrior, you will definitely die. Someone from the Emerald Martial Palace will definitely come to take care of you. The disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace had never been humiliated like this before. They carried the half-dead Xiao Lai out of the Ling family, and said some harsh words before they left. There were only 3 disciples from the Purple Sun Martial Palace. One of them was dead or alive, one was badly injured, and the last one obviously could not take the other 2 away, so he did not dare to say any harsh words. He could only curse Yi Chen in his mind, and swear that he would definitely take revenge for today's humiliation. Ling Tiannan's face was full of bitterness. He ordered people to carry Wang Kunyang and the other badly injured disciple to the inner courtyard. He was going to use the best medicine to cure them. Otherwise, even if the management of the Purple Sun Martial School did not blame them, it would still leave a bad impression on them. In the white circle, there were only 7 people left: Yi Chen alone, 3 disciples from the Rudra Martial School, and 3 disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy. Yi Chen had a good impression of these 2 disciples. At least he did not hate them. He said, 7, there are 2 more, let's continue. No need. The tall girl was the leader of the Rudra Martial School disciples. She said to a male disciple standing next to her, "Brother Yang, you are not as powerful, leave." Yes. The disciple did not hesitate. He started walking out of the white circle. The leader of the North Snow Martial Academy disciples was Wang Feng. He also asked one of the weaker disciples to give up. There were exactly 5 people left in the circle. The tall girl smiled at Yi Chen and said, Brother Yi, you were so powerful just then. I, Xuemei, admire you so much. Yi Chen did not show any arrogance. He said, there are so many geniuses out there, I am nothing. I am afraid that even you don't think that I am a unique genius. Yuan Xuemei paused for a second, then laughed and said, interesting, indeed, there are a lot of people like you, who can beat geniuses who are at a higher cultivation level than you. But you have to be careful. The Purple Sun Martial Palace and the Emerald Martial Palace disciples will not let this go easily. I heard that the Blood Demon from the Emerald Martial Palace is also doing a mission in this area. Do not run into him, or you will be in danger. Blood Demon. Yi Chen slightly frowned. This guy should be an inner disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace. He even got the nickname of Blood Demon. Chapter 74. Yi Chen asked, what level of strength does this bloodthirsty mad demon belong to? He did not ask about his opponent's cultivation level, because for geniuses, cultivation level did not mean anything. There were a lot of mid-condensing reality realm warriors who could beat late-condensing reality realm warriors. What mattered most was their combat power. Yuan Xuemei glanced at Wang Feng and explained, Brother Yi, have you ever heard about the 3 great ranks of the young generation of the Windy Nation? Yi Chen shook his head. Perhaps other disciples who often roamed the Jianghu would know about this, but he had just become an inner disciple not long ago, and his network was not big, so there were some things that he did not know. Then I'll tell you. Yuan Xuemei organized her thoughts and said slowly. Although the Windy Nation didn't have as many geniuses as the other nations, there were still quite a lot of them. Generally speaking, the truly talented geniuses would be divided into 3 groups. There were only 3 people on the first step. They were Young Master Emerald from the Emerald Martial Palace, Young Master North Snow from the North Snow Martial Academy, and Young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family. These 3 were the leaders of the young generation of the Windy Nation. They were qualified to compete with the top martial geniuses from other nations. They could also participate in the South Rudra region Hidden Dragon rank competition that was held once every 3 years. There were quite a lot of people in the second group, including the core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace, Palm Extreme Liu Wuxiang, Stone Man Shapotian, Tyrannical Blade Yu Yu, North Snow Quick Blade Lynch, Purple Sun Martial School's core disciples, Rushing Thunder Hand Ouyang Lai, Little Godly Legs Ouyang Ming, our Rudra Martial School's first sister and second brother, Lotus Fairy Qin Yulian and Rain Hero Nangong Yun, and your Sky Cloud Martial School's core disciples, Hidden Fragrance Sword Zhu Mai and Han's Han Child Luo Han's Han. Of course, the more people there were, the greater the disparity between them. The strongest might easily defeat the weakest, but they would still be ranked in the second tier. As for the third group, there were a lot of them, and they were all core disciples of different martial institutions. Most of them were at the late condensing reality realm, and were expected to become the mainstay of the Windy Nation. Yi Chen frowned. Bloodthirsty Mad Demon is a genius of the 3rd rank? Hihi, that's not it. He's one of the strongest disciples below the 3 great ranks. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation is a little low, it wouldn't be impossible for him to enter the 3rd rank, Yuan Xuemei explained. After hearing so much, Yi Chen drew a more detailed division of strength in his mind, from high to low, in an orderly manner. It was not like before, when he had a hazy understanding of the strength of the sect disciples, and he had to rely on himself to analyze it, which was a mess. As for the Hidden Dragon rank competition, he had heard about it a long time ago. The South Rudra region was the smallest region in the True Spirit continent, but it was still many times bigger than the world that Yi Chen came from. It had a radius of thousands of miles, and there were 3 big countries, 10 medium-sized countries, and 24 small countries like the Windy Nation. The martial artists of the major countries did not have much contact with each other. The distance between them was also too far, so it was difficult for them to completely understand the level of the martial artists of the other countries. For this reason, the 3 top countries in the South Rudra region had joined hands and set up a competition 60 years ago, which was the Hidden Dragon rank competition. The competition of the Hidden Dragon rank was prepared for young people. Any warrior who was under 24 years old and had reached the mid-condensing reality realm could participate. It was held once every 3 years, and there were 72 people who could participate. The whole South Rudra region had tens of billions of people, and it would be such an honor to be able to pick out the 72 most powerful young warriors from tens of billions of people. No one would not be tempted. According to Yi Chen's knowledge, in the last Hidden Dragon rank competition, which was 1 year ago, young Master Emerald from the Emerald Martial Palace was ranked 68th, while young Master North Snow from the North Snow Martial Academy and young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family did not make it. Of course, this did not mean that young Master Jadeite was stronger than the other two. After all, sometimes, if one was unlucky, it would be useless to meet an opponent who could restrain one's cultivation. A lot of information flashed through his mind. Yi Chen nodded to Yuan Shuomei and said, "Thank you for telling me. I will be careful." Wang Feng, who had a cold expression on his face, said, "The bloodthirsty demon does not necessarily have a weakness. As long as you can find it, you will be able to beat him with the least amount of effort." Yi Chen forced a smile. The disciples of the North Snow Martial Academy were the best at beating the stronger ones. They would find the enemy's weakness and attack it with all their strength, not giving them any chance to fight back. Unfortunately, he was not a disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy. Even if he had a powerful soul power, it would be hard for him to attack the enemy's weakness effectively. No matter what, an opponent as powerful as the bloodthirsty demon would not be beaten by him with only one attack. Ling Xiaoxue saw the few of them standing there without any intention to come over, so she had to remind them, "Congratulations to the 5 of you for becoming the temporary guards for the herb collecting team tomorrow." "Thank you." Yuan Shuomei smiled back. Ling Tiannan said, "I have already asked people to prepare rooms for the 5 of you. Dinner will be served in the lobby, and there will be someone to remind you. Also, the Red Blood Forest is very dangerous, so you all have to prepare for your own safety. Tonight, you should focus on resting." "Thank you, Leader Ling." The few of them did not dare to underestimate the Red Blood Forest. There were a lot of beasts in the forest, and rank 4 beasts were not uncommon. It would be fine if they ran into a weaker one, but if they ran into a top rank 4 beast, even young Master Emerald and the others might not be able to win. They might even die in there and become nutrients for the soil. The sky quickly darkened. After dinner, the few of them went back to their own rooms and stayed inside. The night was quiet. The next morning, the 5 of them followed the herb collecting team and the Ling family's guards towards the Red Blood Forest, which was located west of the Black Rock City. In the dead silent forest, everyone was walking quietly. Pairs of vigilant eyes were constantly scanning the dark corners of the forest. Those who had weapons were holding them tightly, while those who did not had been secretly channeling their Jin Qi, preparing themselves for any possible danger. Although everyone was being extremely careful, death was still unavoidable. A member of the Ling family's guard team fell onto the ground with a green face and white foam coming out of his mouth. Lin Xiaoxue frowned and hurried over. After a careful examination, the crowd discovered that there was a large bright green spider crawling on the neck of the dead Ling family guard. When it came over, it was probably hanging on a tree branch. When the crowd passed by, it then silently landed on the neck of the guard and poisoned him. "It's the dark green poison dragon spider." Lin Xiaoxue's face turned pale. This kind of spider was only a rank 1 demonic beast, but the poison inside its body was very strong. It could kill a condensing reality realm warrior within a second. It was called the Death Messenger by the warriors who frequented the Red Blood Forest, meaning that the victim could not be saved. Yi Chen secretly gasped. He thought that the Red Blood Forest would not be as dangerous as the Silent Hills. If he could survive in the Silent Hills, then he would definitely be able to survive in the Red Blood Forest as well. However, he was wrong. The Red Blood Forest was not only dangerous for the powerful beasts, but also for the weak ones. If that spider had bitten him, he might have died. Chapter 75. Miss, there is no hope. Let's just keep going. The vice captain of the herb collecting team sighed and suggested. Lin Xiaoxue nodded, stood up and said, "Everyone, the Red Blood Forest is extremely dangerous. Accidents are bound to happen. But don't worry, the dead will not die in vain. The Ling family will compensate your family with 100,000 silvers, and the rest of you will get 10,000 each. If something happens to me, it will be the same. Miss, you are such a good person. Then we can rest assured. Yeah, as a warrior, accidents are normal. I am just worried that my family will lose their support. There were only 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, and the rest were all at the mortal realm. With their strength, even if they hunted demonic beasts every day, it would still take them a few months to earn 100,000 silvers. But that was impossible. No one could stay in a place where demonic beasts gathered every day. Normally, a normal mortal realm warrior would need at least 5 years to earn 100,000 silvers, and that was assuming that they didn't die all the time. After all, if they were unlucky, they might even run into a high-level demonic beast, and they wouldn't even be able to run away. Now, Lin Xiaoxue had compensated the families of the dead with 100,000 silvers, which meant that they did not have to worry about their families anymore. Plus, if they survived, they would also have 10,000 silvers, which boosted their morale even more. This girl has the temperament of a leader. Lin Xiaoxue's actions made Yi Chen secretly nod. The dead had already died, and the rest of the people still had to continue their journey. As they went deeper, they felt like they had entered another world, completely separated from the busy city. The Red Blood Forest was indeed worthy of its name. Along the way, they had encountered 4 waves of beasts. The first wave was 3 underground demon rats, which were rank 2 beasts. The second wave was a large group of silver ring snakes, which were rank 2 beasts. The third wave was 5 scorpion demon wolves, which were top rank 3 beasts. The fourth wave was a blind mighty rock bear, which was a rank 4 beast. Under the attacks of the third and fourth waves of demonic beasts, no one was killed or even injured. However, the first and second waves of demonic beasts had killed 4 members of the guard team and herb gathering team. If it weren't for Yi Chen and the rest's quick reactions, it wasn't impossible for more than half of the team to die. The underground demon rat was not very powerful. Under normal circumstances, even a mortal realm stage 7 or 8 warrior could easily beat it. But when it was hiding underground, it was a nightmare for mortal realm warriors and even early condensing reality realm warriors. Among the guards, a mortal realm stage 10 warrior was dragged into the deep cave by the underground demon rat without any resistance. His screams lasted for a long time before it stopped. The second and third underground devil rats were unlucky. They targeted Yi Chen and Yuan Xuemei. Before they could crawl out of the ground, they were shocked to death by Yi Chen and Yuan Xuemei's Zhenqi. The other underground devil rat was so scared that it ran away. If the underground devil rats had traumatized everyone, then the second wave of demonic beasts, a large group of silver ring snakes, had terrified them. The silver ring snake was a rank 2 beast. It had an oval head, and its whole body was lined with white and black rings. The white rings were relatively narrow, and its tail was long and thin. Its body length was 3 to 4 meters, and it was as thick as an arm. Its poison was slightly weaker than the dark green poison dragon spider, but once a condensing reality realm warrior was bitten, he or she would die in a short period of time. The silver ring snake's attacks were very strange. From the top of the trees, in the bushes, under the fallen leaves, it attacked from all directions. The sound it made was like a storm. It was crazy. At this critical moment, the disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, Wang Feng, used his blizzard sword art. Wherever the icy cold sword chi went, the silver ring snake's speed would be slowed down immediately. Those that were close to it would be cut into pieces. Wang Feng had blocked half of the silver ring snakes all by himself. Yi Chen and Yuan Xuemei were not weak either. They both used their martial arts to kill the silver ring snakes from 10 steps away. Unfortunately, the range that they could protect was limited. 1 herb collecting team member and 2 guard team members were bitten by dozens of silver ring snakes. They were poisoned to death immediately, and died on the ground. Lin Xiaoxue's face was very pale. It was not only because they were getting closer to the deeper part of the Red Blood Forest where there were more and more demonic beasts, but also because there were too many people that had died, and the amount of compensation was too high. It was not that she was stingy, but this time, she had spent 100,000 gold and 50 chi healing pellets to hire 5 martial disciples. The total value was almost 250,000 gold, which would be 2.5 million silver. Now, 5 people had died, and the compensation was 500,000 silver, and the ones that survived would each get 10,000 silver. It would be more than 3.5 million silver. For a small family like the Ling family, 5 million silver was already a huge loss. It was easy for them to run out of money, and if they ran out of money, it would usually bankrupt a small family. Biting her lips, Lin Xiaoxue hoped that there would be a good harvest. After walking for another 10 miles, Yi Chen suddenly felt that the natural yuan qi around them had become a lot denser, and there was a faint mist in the distance. Lin Xiaoxue obviously felt the change in the yuan qi, and said excitedly, "We are almost at the herb collecting location, let's work harder." Oh! Everyone from the Ling family could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Along the way, they had been very nervous, and did not dare to relax for even a second. They were afraid that if they let their guard down, they would become the prey of the demonic beasts, and would never be able to leave the Red Blood Forest and return to their warm homes. Luckily, there was always a reward. After they finished collecting the herbs, it should be a lot easier to go back. After a while, they came to the side of a huge basin. Looking around, the basin was several miles in size, and it was filled with all kinds of herbs, such as black ring grass, silver bellgrass, gold pearl iron bloodgrass, starflower, centipede flower, vermilion fruit, black snake fruit, seven-star pearl grass, tricolor date tree, neverwinter date tree, and hundreds of different kinds of herbs could be found here and there. Dense spiritual energy gathered in the sky, forming a faint mist that was faintly discernible. It was like a paradise on earth, a paradise in the mist. So many herbs. Everyone in the herb collecting team's eyes lit up, and their breathing sped up. These herbs might not be worth much individually, but when there were so many of them, it would be very scary. If they could collect all of them, they would be able to sell for 1 or 2 million silvers, and if they were made into pellets, the price would be 10 times higher. It would not be a problem to make 10 million silvers. Some of the more valuable herbs would be even more expensive than that. For example, the gold pearl iron bloodgrass, which was used to make the qi healing pellet, was a rare herb. One of them could be sold for 1,000 silvers, which was even more expensive than a good weapon. Lin Xiaoxue looked very happy, but she did not let the excitement get to her head. She ordered, 2 of the guard team members will protect one of the herb collecting team members. Split up. If anything happens, don't do anything on your own. Report to me immediately. Yes. Along the way, the guard team members had made a lot of contributions. If it were not for them protecting the herb collecting team members, more people would have died. However, it was all worth it. Besides the money they were supposed to get, each of them could get an extra 10,000 silvers, which was equivalent to a couple of months' income. After arranging their tasks, Lin Xiaoxue also joined the herb collecting team. From time to time, she would let out a scream. Obviously, some of the herbs were very valuable. Yuan Shuomei smiled and said, "This basin's natural yuan qi is very rich, there might be some demonic beasts here. Let's patrol around." Yi Chen nodded, "You're right, everyone should take care of their own areas." All right. Since they had been paid, the 5 of them would each take a position and patrol around. Occasionally, they would pick some herbs and put them in their storage rings. Chapter 76. Just as Yuan Shuomei had expected, there were indeed some demonic beasts hiding in the basin. There were fist-sized deadly bees, 1,000 transformation dragons that could change their skin color freely, King Kong birds that usually hid in the tree trunks and slept, and rock-armored pigs that would go on a rampage when angered. Fortunately, these beasts were not of high levels, and there were not many of them. Only a few of them were injured, and none of them were killed. At this moment, Yi Chen's pure Junjin Qi had shown its true power. He could attack with Qi swords from hundreds of steps away, which were as powerful as an early condensing reality realm warrior's full power attack. It could easily save people from danger, and he could also multitask from time to time, shooting out a few Qi swords to help the herb collecting team members. Swoosh! As the last 2 deadly bees were shot down by the Qi swords, Yi Chen had a thoughtful look on his face. It seemed that the closer they got to the center of the basin, the higher the chance of beasts appearing. Those deadly bees had come from the beehives in the deepest part of the basin. They were only 1/3 bigger than normal deadly bees, and their flying speed was as fast as birds in the sky. Everyone, let's pick the herbs in the outer part of the basin first, then we can go deeper in. Activating his Zhen Qi, Yi Chen's voice traveled miles away, as if it was right next to their ears. Lin Xiaoxue also said, Warrior Yi is right. Let's finish picking the herbs in the outer part first, then gather at my place. Actually, even without Yi Chen's reminder, the herb collecting team members already knew that it was not safe in the deepest part of the basin. But knowing was one thing. Sometimes when they saw some precious herbs not far away, they could not help but walk towards them, completely forgetting about the danger. Yuan Shuemei's patrol area was right next to Yi Chen's. Every once in a while, the two would bump into each other. Right then, Yuan Shuemei suddenly said, Don't you think the natural Yuan Qi in the basin is too rich? Yes, a little bit. Maybe the herbs and this basin have formed a Yuan Qi cycle, nourishing each other, causing the natural Yuan Qi to be much richer than other places. Yi Chen thought about it, but could not think of any other reason. Yuan Shuemei shook her head, It's not the same. Places with herbs do have rich natural Yuan Qi, but I have seen bigger herb gardens, but they are nowhere close to this place. Yi Chen stared at her. You mean, there is something else? I guess so. When we reach the depths, we can investigate it. Yi Chen nodded. If it was really as the other party said, it was necessary to investigate. Perhaps they might find something valuable. Time passed by quickly. By the time most of the herbs in the periphery were harvested, it was already close to noon. Lin Xiaoxue put the baskets of herbs into her storage ring, then took out the food that she had prepared beforehand and handed it out. Miss, how's the harvest? The vice captain of the herb gathering team couldn't help but ask. Lin Xiaoxue smiled and said, Based on my initial estimation, the total value of the herbs we just obtained is more than 300,000 silvers. If we make them into pellets, we can easily earn 3 or 4 million silvers. That's good. The Ling family's main path of development was medicine refinement. If there were more medicinal herbs, they would earn more money. If there were losses, they would also be implicated, and their lives would become difficult. They were bound together for good or ill. When they arrived at where Yi Chen and the group were, Lin Xiaoxue said gratefully, Thank you for protecting us along the way. In the future, if you need any pellets, you can buy them from our Ling family. We will give you a basic price. Actually, these were just polite words. The martial disciples were never short of money. If they were short of anything, they would only be short of a lot of money. However, that was not important. What was most important was to have a good relationship with the martial disciples, because it would help the Ling family a lot in the future. Wang Feng said lightly, Since we have accepted the mission, we will try our best. There is no need to thank us. Lin Xiaoxue was a bit embarrassed. As a woman, she would eventually have to marry someone. She did not think highly of those rich young masters. They seemed to be very powerful, but in fact, they only had the power of their families. If they lost their families, they would be nothing. If she had to marry someone, it would be best to marry a martial disciple. For example, a genius like Wang Feng and Yi Chen. Judging from his appearance and temperament, he must be from a big family. He was not short of money, and he was very powerful. He was the ideal marriage partner for most young girls. However, on the way here, she realized that Wang Feng was very cold, and kept people thousands of miles away from him. Yi Chen, on the other hand, seemed to be kind and friendly, but in fact, he was even more ruthless. Yuan Shuemei was smart, and she was also a woman, so she could easily understand Lin Xiaoxue's actions. However, she still shook her head. Warriors and normal people would not have much in common, so it would be very difficult for them to get married. In her eyes, Lin Xiaoxue was only a mortal realm warrior after all. If there were no accidents, she would probably be stuck at the condensing reality realm for the rest of her life. When one reached the level of Wang Feng and Yi Chen, the biggest goal in life was to become more powerful. Everything else was secondary. Even when they reached a certain age, if they needed something, they would usually find a woman who was not that different from them, and rarely would they choose a normal person. Putting herself in their shoes, Yuan Shuemei would not fall for a normal person either. If Wang Feng and Yi Chen knew what Yuan Shuemei was thinking, they would probably agree with her. Indeed, for them, no matter how beautiful Lin Xiaoxue was, she was just a normal person. She would not have anything to do with them in the future. Instead of sleeping with her in the future, why would they even bother? Boom! Right at that moment, the ground suddenly started shaking violently, as if something was trying to crawl out of the ground. The next second, a milky white beam of light shot out from the center of the basin. It was about 10 meters thick, and it shot straight up into the sky, creating a huge hole in the clouds. The already rich natural yuan qi above the basin became even more dense, forming clouds of yuan qi fog. It was hazy and invisible, and when one inhaled it, his jin qi seemed to grow a little bit stronger. Yuan Shuemei blurted out, "Yuan qi turned into a pillar, there is a spirit fountain down there." Hearing her, Yi Chen and Wang Feng looked shocked. They did not expect that there would be a spirit fountain down there. Normally, there would be spirit stones where there was a spirit fountain, and spirit stones were a necessity for warriors. They just did not know how big this spirit fountain was. If it was just a small one, then it would not be a big deal, but if it was a big one, then all of the top martial institutions in the Windy Nation would gather there to fight for the ownership of the spirit fountain. 10 miles away from the basin, the three men in black raised their heads at the same time. Yuan qi turned into a pillar, the spirit fountain has appeared. Should we go back and report to Master Gui Jiang? After all, the top martial institutions would soon know about the appearance of the spirit fountain. No need, let's use our secret art to cover the smell of the spirit fountain first. Otherwise, even if we report to Master Gui Jiang, it would be too late. You are right. Let's not waste any more time, let's go. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The three of them turned into strange black shadows, flying in the dark and lush forest. Their speed was unbelievably fast, and within a blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 77. Turning around, Yuan Shuemei said to Lin Xiaoxue, "Now, take everyone and go deeper into the cave." All right. Xiaoxue also knew the importance of the spirit fountain, but she did not have the slightest intention of taking it. With the Ling family's power, there was no way they could take a spirit fountain, even if it was the smallest one. If she thought about it, it would only lead to death. Yi Chen, Wang Feng, and Yuan Shuemei took the lead, while the other two sect disciples brought up the rear. The group of more than 50 people headed deeper into the forest. Kai 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 kai, chi swords shot out, and before the swarm of killer bees could even get close, they were sliced in half in the air, and scattered down like rain. Yuan Shuemei praised, "Brother Yi, your cultivation technique should be pure Junjin Qi, right? I've seen a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School use it before, but that person could only emit Qi aura, and couldn't reach the level of condensing Qi into a sword. I wonder what level Brother Yi has cultivated it to." Yi Chen said, "I'm not talented, but I recently broke through to the 7th layer." Oh. Yuan Shuemei and Wang Feng both looked surprised. It was not that easy to train a top-rank mortal realm art to the highest level. Normally, if a person could train a top-rank mortal realm art to the 5th level within 2 years, he would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 6th level would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 7th level would be extremely rare. The deeper they went, the more demonic beasts there were. He had just killed a group of killer bees when 3 more green-armored lizards rushed out. Dripping water pierces stone. As an inner disciple of the Rudra Martial School, and a mid-condensing reality realm martial artist, Yuan Shuemei was naturally not weak. A thin sword appeared in her hand, she slightly shook her wrist, and 3 thin sword lights shot out. Although they were very fast, they looked very slow. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The 3 green-armored lizards didn't have time to launch an attack. A sword hole appeared on each of their foreheads. They whimpered and fell to the ground. Great sword art. The Rudra Martial School's water drop sword spell is indeed worthy of its reputation. Wang Feng's cold voice came out, with a rare compliment. Yuan Shuemei replied modestly, "I've let the 2 of you see a joke." After walking for another kilometer, the group finally arrived at the center of the basin. The Yuan Qi here was more than twice as dense as outside. The thin mist of Yuan Qi was moist, as if it was going to liquefy into Yuan Qi rain. Unfortunately, because of the impact of the Yuan Qi light pillar, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was chaotic and violent, and could not be guided into the body normally. Forcefully guiding it would only make one's Yuan Qi unstable, which was not worth it. Otherwise, it would be an excellent place to cultivate. Looking at the scale of the Yuan Qi light pillar, Yuan Shuemei shook her head. So it's a fake spiritual vein. Fake spiritual vein? How can you tell? Yi Chen didn't quite understand. Wang Feng, who was standing on the side, opened his mouth and said, a fake spirit vein is a spirit vein that hasn't fully formed yet. There can't be spirit stones inside. Even if there are only a few of them, and the quality is far inferior to normal spirit stones. They can only be counted as low-quality spirit stones. However, for some small or medium-sized clans, it is already very good. As for how to tell, it's very simple. Look at the color of the center of the Yuan Qi light pillar. If it's white with yellow, it means it's a small spirit vein. If it's white with orange, it means it's a medium spirit vein. If it's white with red, it means it's a large spirit vein. According to the legends, there's a white with purple top-rank spirit vein, but I don't know if it's true or not. Yuan Shuemei was very knowledgeable. Hearing this, she said, there is indeed a top-rank spirit vein. 300 years ago, Shu King found a small top-rank spirit vein from the bottom of the sea. It was more than 300 miles long, and the widest part was more than 50 miles. He used his peerless power to pull it out from the bottom of the sea, and brought it back to his clan's gate. It made Yuan Qi rain all year round, and the training speed was 100 times faster than the outside world. 300 years. Pulling out a top-rank spirit vein, Yuan Qi rain. Yi Chen secretly clicked his tongue. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors could reverse life and death, and could live for more than 1,000 years, and all of them were extremely powerful, when it was confirmed, he was still very shocked. At the same time, he felt bitter for his lack of imagination. The Yuan Qi light beam lasted for a quarter of an hour before it started to weaken. The huge amount of Yuan Qi was like a fountain, spreading out in all directions, nourishing the plants. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the plants in the basin were so abundant. Most of it was because the fake spirit vein would explode every once in a while, nourishing the plants. Seeing that the plants in the center of the basin were even more abundant and precious, Lin Xiaoxue couldn't help but smile. She ordered the herb collecting team members, "Hurry, let's get moving. Guards, help out as well. Be careful." Yes. Even without Lin Xiaoxue's order, the herb collecting team members' eyes had already turned red. They had never seen so many plants in their lives, and they were as abundant as grass. Yi Chen smiled. Even he was very interested in the plants here. However, since he had accepted the mission, he would not do anything that was against the mission. Of course, there were so many plants here, so it was okay for him to pick some, since there were so many of them. Shoo, 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 shoo. No one knew when, but 3 men in black appeared outside of the basin. The Yuan Qi light beam has weakened, let's go and check it out. Wait, there are a lot of footprints around, there are quite a lot of people. One of the men in black looked around, trying to stop his partner from acting recklessly. The bad-tempered man in black kicked away a startled wild boar and said angrily, "Fuck. Who dares to get in front of us? It should be the herb collecting team from the nearby cities. Look, all the plants around here have been picked up. They are very experienced. There shouldn't be any powerful warriors in the herb collecting team, so we don't have to worry about them." The 3 of them talked for a while, then walked towards the deeper part of the basin along with the bushes that had been pushed aside. Their speed was neither slow nor slow, and they always kept the same pace. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the center of the basin. It really is the herb collecting team. Didn't they see the Yuan Qi light beam? That's impossible. That light beam can be seen from tens of miles away. Could it be a fake spirit vein? Damn, we came for nothing. What do you mean by nothing? Didn't you see that girl? She is quite pretty. We have stayed in the Ghost Corpse Mountain for many years, and we have never been close to women. Now that we have finally become low-level ghost guards, we are qualified to leave the mountain and try our luck. How could we let go of this opportunity? Hee hee. The three of them looked at each other with a strange look on their faces. Shoo. Suddenly, a chi sword flew over from 100 steps away, as fast as a bird. You are looking for death. The bad-tempered man in black did not retreat, and threw a punch right at the chi sword. Boom. The chi sword exploded, and the sound alerted the people nearby. You three, this is not a place for you to stay, leave now. Yi Chen, Yuan Shuamei, and Wang Feng walked over, coldly staring at the three men in black. The three men in black were good at hiding their auras, but how could they hide from Yi Chen, who had a powerful soul power? They were discovered by him the moment they appeared. Chapter 78. The leading man in black had a scrawny face, and a pair of narrow and shiny eyes, which contained all kinds of insidious and cunning. He chuckled and said, "It has always been others avoiding us, not us. Brat, you seem to be a disciple of a martial institution. Put down your storage ring and cut off one of your arms. Only then will you have a chance to live. Did you attack me just now? If you cut off one of your arms, I will spare your life. But your female partner will have to stay. A female condensing reality realm warrior should be fun to play with." The man in black with a hideous face looked extremely hideous. "My two fellow disciples might not be nice, but this is the only way for you to live. Anyone who resists will die." The man in black, who seemed to be the calmest of the group, also spoke. On the other side, Ling Xiaoxue and the others had all stopped picking herbs. Their faces were pale. Where did these three people come from? They did not look like living people. Their bodies were emitting an extremely evil and horrifying aura, just like demons. "Miss, these three are not kind people. I am afraid they are in danger." The captain of the guard team was also a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. His eyesight was 10 times better than Lin Xiaoxue and the rest of the guards. With just a glance, he could tell that these men in black were more powerful than him. Especially the calmest man in black, he seemed to be at the late condensing reality realm. His Zhen Qi was filled with a strong evil and corrosive qi. Ling Xiaoxue raised her hand. "Let's wait and see." There were 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, plus 5 martial disciples. There were 11 condensing reality realm warriors in total. The leader and vice leader of the guard team were both at the mid-condensing reality realm. Wang Feng, Yuan Shuamei, and the other 2 martial disciples were also at the mid-condensing reality realm. So, there were 4 mid-condensing reality realm warriors on their side. Obviously, they were more powerful than the men in black. If even the martial disciples could not handle the situation, then they would have to attack together. Ha 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 ha. Wang Feng, who had been silent all this time, laughed out loud. Interesting, interesting. I have never seen such an arrogant person. Yi Chen, Yuan Shuamei, each pick an opponent, but leave the most powerful one to me. I would like to see if his words about those who resists will die will come true. Yi Chen smiled. All right, I will take care of the one who looks like a withered tree. Leave the last one to me. Since he wants to play with women, I will let him know how scary women can be. Yuan Shuamei was calm and collected, but her calm tone contained a dense killing intent. Hee hee. Everyone says that sect disciples are incomparably arrogant, and it seems to be true. Kill. The ferocious-looking black-robed man stomped on the ground and punched out, enveloping the 3 of them in his fist energy. He was arrogant and ferocious. Your opponent is me. Yuan Shuamei's hand shook, and the snow-silver thin sword burst out a sky-covering sword light, colliding with the opponent's fist energy. Bang 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 bang. The sound of air explosions rang out incessantly, and the 2 of them quickly moved to another place. Clang. Wang Feng unsheathed his saber and locked onto the aura of the leading man in black. Die. The saber light was like snow, and the saber energy was like a gale. The wind and snow intertwined, making it difficult for the human eye to look directly at them. Wang Feng immediately used the Northern Snow Martial Academy's unique martial art, the Blizzard Sword Art. Compared to Yi Tang, his Blizzard Sword Art was much colder and more violent. Once he used it, the whole world seemed to have disappeared. Only the snow-like sword light could be seen. Corpse King Fist. Explode. The leading man in black was expressionless. Facing the incoming saber light, he directly threw out a punch. The saber light was shattered, and the blizzard disappeared. The man in black was neither happy nor angry. He threw out another punch. Great, unyielding snow frost. Wang Feng held his saber with both of his hands, and threw out a crazy attack. The icy cold saber light condensed on the edge of the saber, and sliced through the air with the power of the blizzard. A white light flashed, and Wang Feng's attack missed. The man in black's right hand was on the back of the saber, and his left hand formed a fist and threw out another attack. Bang! Wang Feng, who had collided head-on with the man in black, was pushed back 10 steps, and his body seemed to be staggering. Yi Chen frowned. This man in black is not easy to deal with. But Wang Feng is one of the most powerful inner disciples in the Northern Snow Martial Academy. He should have some special skills. It is still too early to tell who will win. Little brat, looking around is a big taboo for warriors. Die. The evil man in black shook his body, and turned into a few beams of black light, attacking Yi Chen from different directions. 10 Ghost Shadow Flash. The black light split open, and then doubled in size, turning into 8 of them. It was like a demon dancing in the sky, and the ghostly shadows were everywhere. Anyone would faint just by looking at it. An almost inaudible ear-piercing sound came into his ears, but Yi Chen was not surprised at all. He leaned back, and disappeared without a trace. Crack! A crack appeared on the ground, and the evil man in black looked surprised. His 10 Ghost Shadow Flash was always successful. Even late condensing reality realm warriors would be confused by it, and killed easily. But he had never met a condensing reality realm warrior who had a better movement art than him. What the hell? The evil man in black realized that Yi Chen was not easy to deal with, so he performed his 10 Ghost Shadow Flash again. But unlike before, this time, the black light was covered with a layer of grayish-white chi. Wherever it went, the flowers and trees withered, the ground cracked, and a faint burnt smell spread out. Shoo! The surface of his Jun Chi was showing signs of being corroded. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. He activated his pure Jun Chi special protective chi. Countless sharp chi flows combined together, killing the grayish-white chi. Break for me. The black light merged together, and the evil man in black appeared behind Yi Chen. His right claw, which was surrounded by the grayish-white chi, grabbed towards Yi Chen. The next moment, the air exploded violently, and a huge hole was created in the protective chi layer, which almost hurt Yi Chen. Of course, the man in black was not in a good condition either. His palms were pierced by the chi layer, leaving many tiny wounds on them. Blood was oozing out of the wounds, as if he had been stung by a hornet. I am so angry. The man in black cursed. The other two were doing very well, and he was the only one who was suffering. But it seemed that this brat in front of him was only at the early condensing reality realm. Without touching the ground, Yi Chen lightly stepped on a herb. Jun Chi has a corrosive effect. I guess you are not supposed to show your identity. So what? The ghost corpse Jun Chi has not shown its true power yet. You are dead. I am going to turn you into a bronze-armored corpse. The evil man in black threw out a palm attack, and a huge amount of grayish-white Jun Chi swept out, rushing towards Yi Chen's position like a flood. The ground cracked and burned, the herbs were burned into ashes. Wherever the grayish-white Jun Chi went, nothing could survive, and a black path was created. Yi Chen sneered, "You really think I cannot kill you?" His whole body was filled with Jun Chi, and Yi Chen's aura kept increasing. Eventually, he jumped out of the ground and rushed into the sky above the red blood forest. At the same time, he slowly threw out a punch, as if he was pulling 10 horses. It was extremely strenuous. Tyrant Fist, the first movement, Tyrant's Rampage. Deciding to end the battle quickly, Yi Chen did not hold back anymore. He directly performed the low-rank Earth Realm fist art that he had recently mastered, the Tyrant Fist. Chapter 79. Chin. As he threw out a punch, the fist power squeezed the air in front of him, making a loud noise. After the corpse ghost genuine chi resisted it for a while, it flowed backward at an even faster speed. Not only that, The corpse ghost genuine chi was compressed from a few meters thick to half a meter in diameter under the power of the tyrant fist. It looked like a grayish-white pillar of light. How is this possible? He infused all of my ghost corpse Jin Chi into his fist power. The man in black opened his eyes wide. His pupils were filled with fear and desperation. Before he could do anything, he was pierced through by the gray light beam. Whoosh! The two halves of the black-clothed man's body began to burn and turn into ashes. Brother Tian. The man in black who was fighting with Wang Feng could not believe his eyes. Although Tian was not as powerful as him, his fighting power was not to be underestimated. Even he would need hundreds of attacks to defeat him. Plus, there were many condensing reality realm warriors in the Ghost Corpse Mountain, and only the most elite disciples could become low-level ghost guards. He thought that with their power, they would be able to compete with the disciples from the martial institutions, and that these small fries in front of him would be easy to kill. But now, reality had slapped him in the face. He was completely stunned. Wang Feng had been suppressed by the man in black. Seeing that the man in black was in a daze, he knew that this was the only chance he had. He threw out a blade attack, and a bone-chilling blade power swept across the area. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The leader was a late condensing reality realm warrior after all. As soon as he sensed the incoming blade power, he immediately activated his Jin Chi and created a grayish-white circle of light, blocking the incoming ice-cold and explosive blade power. Corpse King Fist. Die. With bloodshot eyes, the man in black threw out a punch. Wang Feng had already experienced the Corpse King Fist from the man in black. It was extremely powerful and had a corrosive effect, which could destroy Jin Chi. He did not dare to take it head-on. His feet touched the ground and flew backward. At the same time, the colorful snow blade in his hand did not stop. He threw out 13 blade lights. The man in black did not look at the result. He bent down and punched the ground. Hell Locust Wave. The ground within a radius of 10 meters started to shake. The next second, a 5-meter thick gray mushroom-shaped air burst out and swallowed Wang Feng. Yi Chen frowned and was about to help. However, it was no longer necessary. Wang Feng, who was holding the colorful snowblade, cut open the air barrier and stepped out. He slashed down from the sky, followed by a second slash, a third, a fourth. He slashed out 38 times in a row. Each slash stacked on top of each other, forming a huge astral saber. The astral saber extracted all the air in front of it, forming a vacuum without any resistance. This caused the speed of the slashes to increase by more than 3 times. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the astral saber struck where the black-clothed man was. Catcher. A deep scar appeared on the ground, and the flowers and trees nearby fell. Yi Chen looked very serious. What a horrifying attack. Under this kind of attack, even if his pure jade body boosting spell had reached the peak of the 3rd level, he still wouldn't be able to block it. Only by reaching the 4th level would he be able to block it. Facing this attack, the only thing he could do was to not get hit. The inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were indeed not easy to deal with. Their fighting abilities were not any weaker than the Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. In some sense, they might even be stronger. The black-clothed man's body was completely destroyed. The astral saber was way too fast, and the black-clothed man was not as fast as the one killed by Yi Chen. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Wang Feng's face turned pale. He knelt down on one knee. Stopping Yi Chen from coming over, Wang Feng said, "I am fine. This is the side effect of forcefully performing the vacuum-killing blade. My chi and blood are flowing backwards. You should go check on Yuan Shuemei." Vacuum-killing blade. What a powerful name. Yi Chen nodded and walked to the other place where the battle was taking place. Spring rain. In the thick grass, Yuan Shuemei's feet did not touch the ground. She looked like she was weightless. The thin silver sword in her hand was shaking at an extremely fast speed. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to see it with naked eyes. Only beams of sword light could be seen flying out, like a light rain in the spring. Kai 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 kai. The grass under the black-clothed man's feet was full of holes, as if he had just experienced a locust disaster. He had to put up a defensive layer to block the continuous sword lights. Summer rain. Seeing that the black-clothed man had blocked the first wave of sword lights, Yuan Shuamei looked normal. The sword aura in her hand changed from gentle to violent and impatient. Impossible. How could I be suppressed? Being under the cover of the sword lights, the black-clothed man knew better than anyone else how horrifying the sword lights were. If it was just a spring rain before, then it was a summer storm now. It kept pouring down, washing his defensive layer. Autumn rain and thunder. Without giving the black-clothed man any chance, Yuan Shuamei's sword aura changed again. The sword lights contained the poetic perspective of thunder and lightning. It was like a thunderstorm in the autumn, stunning and desolate. Crack. The defensive layer cracked open. The black-clothed man screamed in fear, "I give up. I will leave right now. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me." Yi Chen shook his head. Compared to the previous two, this black-clothed man looked so miserable, which did not match his face at all. However, this also reflected the complexity of people's hearts. No one's appearance could truly reveal their inner qualities. There were those who appeared forthright on the surface, but were dark on the inside. There were those who were refined, but were secretly licentious and shameless. There were also those who appeared to be sanctimonious, but were actually thieves and prostitutes. They were more hateful than the so-called villains. Yuan Shuamei had already planned to kill him. How could she let this black-clothed man go? The sword aura in her hand became even stronger. The violent thunder sword light almost drowned the black-clothed man in it. Crack, 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 crack. More and more cracks appeared on the black-clothed man's defensive layer. Finally, it could not bear the attack anymore and collapsed. The black-clothed man who had lost his defense was instantly pierced through by the sword light, turning into a hornet's nest. Phew! Yuan Shuamei let out a mouthful of turbid air. Her body sank, and her feet landed on the ground. Her forehead was covered in sweat, reflecting a crystal-clear light. Yi Chen smiled and said, "The Rudra Martial School's 4 Seasons sword art is amazing. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the most powerful winter sword art. The 4 Seasons sword art is an Earthrealm sword art. How could I learn it? This is only the 4 Seasons rain sword art that was derived from the 4 Seasons sword art. It is far from the real 4 Seasons sword art. It is not even worth mentioning. On the other hand, Brother Yi's fist art is so earth-shattering. It can actually merge with the opponent's chi and attack back, killing them with only one attack." Yuan Shuamei looked at Yi Chen with a smile. Yi Chen shook his head and forced a smile. It was not easy to gain the upper hand with words from Yuan Shuamei. On the Ling family's side, everyone suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Their palms, which were holding their weapons, were full of sweat. They were ready to charge at any time. Although some of them would be injured or killed, they did not care about that. However, martial school disciples were indeed martial school disciples. Although they did not seem to have the upper hand on the surface, when they really fought with their lives on the line, they used all kinds of ace attacks and killed the 3 black-clothed men. Compared to them, the fighting power of these people was miles behind. They did not even have the qualification to look at their backs. Chapter 80. Alright, let's keep going. It's getting late, we have to get back before dusk. Lin Xiaoxue said as she brushed the hair off her forehead. "Miss, you are right. I do not dare to spend the night in the Red Blood Forest. I am afraid that I will not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Indeed, the night in the Red Blood Forest is 10 times scarier than the day. Hurry, everyone, hurry." Thinking about the horrors of the Red Blood Forest, everyone's expression changed, including the 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the team. Yuan Shuamei said to Yi Chen, "We will have to rely on Brother Yi when we get back. I have just performed the spring rain sword art, the summer rain sword art and the autumn rain sword art in a row. My meridians have been damaged. I am afraid I can only use 70 to 80% of my power." She then looked at Wang Feng, who was sitting with his legs crossed, and continued, "Wang Feng's vacuum killing blade is very aggressive. His side effects are even worse than mine." Yi Chen nodded and said, "Don't worry, I am here." The first movement of the Tyrant Fist art was not weaker than the vacuum-killing blade art, and it had the same side effects. Fortunately, Yi Chen's body was extremely powerful. His chi power had already reached 15,000 pounds, which was the limit of his physical strength. In the future, it would be 10 times more difficult to increase his chi power, unless he reached the 4th or 5th stage of his pure jade body boosting spell. The man in black did not have a storage ring on him, but Yi Chen did not care. He found a clean place and sat down with his legs crossed. He took out a low-rank soul stone and started to recover his Jin Qi. Time passed quickly, and the sun was slowly setting. Although she was reluctant to leave, Lin Xiaoxue still decided to leave the Red Blood Forest immediately. The journey back was not smooth, but the number of beasts had obviously decreased. Perhaps, the true horrors of the Red Blood Forest would only be revealed at night. The moment everyone walked out of the Red Blood Forest, the sky was completely dark. A waning moon hung high in the sky, lonely and bleak. Woo woo woo, vaguely, everyone could hear the sound of a woman crying in the depths of the forest. Their backs suddenly went numb, and they started sweating profusely. Luckily, we came out early. This Red Blood Forest is too scary. No one has ever been to the deepest part of it. I heard that at night, there will be ghosts in the forest. The vice-captain of the team wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The others felt the same way. After exiting the forest, the rest of the journey was easy. In less than 2 hours, everyone returned to the bustling Blackrock city. Yi Chen stayed at the Ling residence for one night. The next morning, Yuan Shuemei and Wang Feng parted ways and returned to their respective sects. Time passed quickly for a martial artist. 1 month passed. During this period, Yi Chen was like the other inner court disciples. He spent 2 days cultivating, 3 days accepting tasks, and in the middle, he had to hurry and find his way. It might look boring, but it was not. Every time he went to a new place, Yi Chen would learn about the customs of that place. There were all kinds of quests, not all of them were fighting and killing. Occasionally, there would be a letter delivery mission. A week ago, Yi Chen had delivered a letter to the Windy Nation's great general Li Zhenghao, who had also rewarded him with a military crossbow, which could break the protective Jin Qi of a normal condensing reality realm warrior with one shot. On this day, Yi Chen had just returned from a 1-star grey rank mission. On the way up the mountain, some inner court disciples were not in a hurry to return to the floating cloud palace. Instead, they were walking slower and slower, discussing something important. Do you know what happened in the Emerald Martial Palace? What could happen in the Emerald Martial Palace? Don't tell me it was destroyed like the evil Earth Martial School. It's not possible. All of the top 5 martial institutions have some powerful martial artists. Even the powerful martial artist who destroyed the evil Earth Martial School would not dare to attack us. Not destroyed, but it has something to do with the young generation. Brother Fang, you like to keep us guessing again. What is it? Just say it. Young Master Emerald has reached the clasping Yuan realm. Although the voice was not loud, the inner court disciples who were walking up the mountain heard it clearly. What? Young Master Emerald has reached the clasping Yuan realm? Is it true? The first big hurdle for a martial artist is to break through from the condensing reality realm to the clasping Yuan realm. If you are not talented enough, you will not be able to make the breakthrough within 3 to 5 years. If you are not talented enough, you might be stuck at the peak of the late condensing reality realm for the rest of your life. That's right. This young Master Emerald had reached the peak of the late condensing reality realm a year ago. How did he make the breakthrough so quickly? Doesn't that make him the most powerful martial artist among the young generation in the Windy Nation? Young Master Duanmu and Young Master North Snow have already been surpassed by him. The inner court disciple called Brother Fang said, "This time, my mission is not far from the Emerald Martial Palace. I heard that the leader of the Emerald Martial Palace, Zhuang Qingxian, will come out of his closed-door training and hold a celebration party for young Master Emerald. He has also invited all the top martial institutions." Wow, it seems to be true. This young Master Emerald is indeed talented. A few years ago, there were 3 young masters who could compete with him. Unfortunately, Our second brother from the Sky Cloud Martial School was not strong enough and was surpassed by the other three. Now, it is young Master North Snow and young Master Duanmu's turn. Hearing this news, Yi Chen was also very surprised. Although the peak of the late condensing reality realm was only one step away from the clasping Yuan realm, without great talent and perseverance, it would be very difficult to make the breakthrough. However, once a martial artist reached the clasping Yuan realm, he would be able to fly as fast as a bird in the sky. If he had enough Shen Qi, he would be able to travel 10,000 miles in just one day. Every single move he made would have a destructive power. Killing a condensing reality realm martial artist would be as easy as killing a chicken or a monkey. In other words, if young Master Emerald wanted to kill young Master Duanmu and young Master North Snow, he would only need a few moves. But to kill young Master Cold Mountain from the Sky Cloud Martial School, he would only need one move. He would become the real #1 martial artist among the young generation of the Windy Nation, and no one would be able to compete with him. At this time, the disciple continued, besides this, the Emerald Martial Palace has gained another core disciple. I heard that her name is Ji Shuiyan. This girl is extremely talented. She reached the late condensing reality realm at the age of 16. After learning the Earth Realm martial arts of the Emerald Martial Palace, she defeated all the core disciples and became one of the best among the core disciples. Some people secretly called her Young Master Emerald, Parmend Liu Wuxiang and Stone Man Shapotian as the four kings of the Emerald Martial Palace's young generation. Ji Shuiyan, is she a disciple of the Ji family? I know her. She has the title of leaving no trace on the snow in the martial world. Her movement art is very good. Ji Shuiyan. Hearing this, Yi Chen's expression didn't change much. However, it gave him a lot of pressure. He was still an early condensing reality realm martial artist. Although he could defeat geniuses with higher cultivation levels, he was not sure if he could defeat a late condensing reality realm martial artist, not to mention a late condensing reality realm martial artist. I have to improve my cultivation as soon as possible, Yi Chen thought to himself, then sped up his pace. Chapter 81. The so-called peak of the early condensing reality realm and the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm were actually stuck at the breakthrough point, unable to break through. After 10 days of hard training, Yi Chen had finally reached the peak of the early condensing reality realm. He was only one step away from the mid-condensing reality realm. However, he did not want to be stuck at this point. Once he lost his motivation, he would have to waste another month or two. He could not wait any longer. Break through with all your might. While enduring the pain in his meridians, Yi Chen operated his pure Junjin Qi with all his might, continuously making a large circle. At the same time, he held a low-rank soul stone in each of his hands. In case he ran out of Jin Qi, he could use the soul stones to break through. The vast and boundless night sky was dotted with stars, and a bright moon hung in the middle of it, shining brightly. A gentle breeze was blowing, the leaves on the treetops were rustling. After a moment of silence, with the courtyard as the center, the Qi of heaven and earth within a radius of 1,000 feet suddenly began to move, like the changing of the wind and clouds, or the coming of a storm. Slowly, slowly, the Qi of heaven and earth revolved and contracted around the entire courtyard, gradually sinking down, shaped like a giant funnel. Woo, woo, woo. The drastic change of the Yuan Qi caused a violent airflow. The gentle breeze suddenly turned into a hurricane. The sand and stones on the ground were flying everywhere. Hey! Someone is breaking through? Ever since he had been promoted to an inner disciple, Yi Chen had moved to an inner disciple's yard on the mountainside, where all the other inner disciples with the same status lived. The distance between them was less than 10 feet, of course, this kind of change could not be hidden from the others. The Yuan Qi funnel became smaller and smaller. At last, it drilled into the house, shattering the roof. On the bed, Yi Chen's face was alternating between red and white. Streams of sharp qi were moving around his body, and from time to time, he lost control and shot thousands of holes into the furniture. Success or failure, it all depends on this. Break. Suddenly, Yi Chen's face turned ferocious. He did not care about the side effects of his weak Shen Qi. He sucked in a huge amount of natural Yuan Qi into his body, giving people the illusion that he was a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Pop! Almost at the same time, a ball of transparent chi spread out, all the furniture and windows were shattered, a few big cracks appeared on the wall, and the cracks spread out like a creeper. After dispersing the excess heaven and earth yuan chi, Yi Chen felt the tearing pain lessen a lot, and the real chi whirlpool in his dantian showed faint signs of strengthening. This was a crucial moment to test one's willpower and talent. Those who did not have enough willpower would likely lose their drive and fall short of success, stopping at the peak of the early stage. Those who did not have enough talent would have a great force suppressing their realm. No matter how arrogant they would not be able to take another step forward. Yi Chen had perseverance, and he didn't lack talent either. What he lacked now was to take that step. Zhenqi Great Circulatory Cycle 180 times, 220 laps, 250 rounds. Yi Chen had surpassed his previous limit. His Zhenqi cycle had reached an astonishing 250 revolutions, 10 more than the previous record. This was not the end. Yi Chen used his powerful soul force to control his Zhenqi so that it would not scatter and fail at the last step. Then, he sped up his great circulatory cycle. When it reached the 280th cycle, the heaven and earth yuan qi in his body was completely refined into true energy, and like rivers flowing into the sea, it shrunk into his dantian and fused into his true energy vortex. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Zhen Qi vortex expanded 3 times in a row, and finally stabilized. Only then did Yi Chen open his eyes. A bright light flashed in the room, bringing up beams of illusory lightning. He had truly achieved the stage of creating lightning out of thin air. Reaching the peak of the early condensing reality realm in 10 days, and then reaching the mid-condensing reality realm in one go, it was really difficult. Yi Chen let out a breath slowly, and a smile appeared on his face. Reaching the mid-condensing reality realm was not a simple breakthrough. When he was only at the early condensing reality realm, he was able to defeat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. Now that he had reached the mid-condensing reality realm, even if that bloodthirsty monster came looking for him, he would not be afraid anymore, and he would definitely be able to kill him. Of course, if he were to fight against the core disciples of those martial institutions, it would still be a bit difficult. After all, being able to become a core disciple meant that he was one of the most powerful late condensing reality realm martial artists. Some of them had even trained low-rank Earth realm martial arts and martial arts, which meant that they were much more powerful than the current Yi Chen. However, even if he could not defeat a core disciple, Yi Chen was confident that he could escape unharmed. Give me some more time, once I reach the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm, I will be able to compete with the core disciples. Yi Chen thought to himself. The news that young Master Emerald had become a clasping Yuan realm martial artist had spread in the Sky Cloud Martial School 10 days ago. Whenever people had free time, they would talk about it. For other people, it might be a topic of gossip, but for Hidden Fragrance Sword Jumai and Child Hanshan Luo Hanshan, it was a huge pressure that almost crushed them and made them unable to breathe. At their level of cultivation, no one would be willing to be under someone else. They would train hard every day, and strive to become one of the most powerful young martial artists in the world. But now, young Master Emerald had reached the clasping Yuan realm before them, which meant that he had completely left them behind and became the leader of the younger generation. The leader of the younger generation of the Windy Nation. What kind of glory was that? What was happening in the outside world had nothing to do with Yi Chen. He was busy entertaining Wu Zongming. Wu Zongming rarely came to visit Yi Chen, but when he saw Yi Chen, he couldn't help but gasp in shock. You have reached the mid-condensing reality realm? Yi Chen said, I just made the breakthrough. My Zhen Qi is not stable yet. I can't help but admire you. A year ago, you were still at the mortal realm stage 6, but now, you have already surpassed me, and even surpassed Zhong Haoren. Zhong Haoren was very talented, but he had not reached the mid-condensing reality realm yet. He was still at the peak of the early condensing reality realm. Yi Chen knew all of this. Oh right, you should have heard about the news that young Master Emerald had reached the clasping Yuan realm, right? Wow, he is indeed one of the top 4 childs of the Windy Nation. He was already on the verge of becoming the leader of the top 4 childs a year ago, and just as I expected, he was the first one to make the breakthrough. Wu Zongming said with a sigh. Pouring a cup of tea for Wu Zongming, Yi Chen said, if the others can turn the pressure into motivation, it is not impossible for them to catch up with young Master Emerald. It is difficult. Wu Zongming shook his head, picked up the teacup and took a sip, then smiled bitterly and said, these things are too far away from us, it is useless to talk about it. This time, I came to ask you if you want to go to the Northwest Auction House. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. You mean one of the top 5 auction houses in the Windy Nation? Wu Zongming nodded. Yes, the Northwest Auction House is located in the Forgotten City. It has existed for hundreds of years. It has a longer history than most of the big martial institutions. As one of the top 5 auction houses, the Northwest Auction House's auction items are all rare and precious, many of which are extremely beneficial to the warriors. You must have heard some news, right? Yi Chen said. The Northwest Auction House has a small auction every 6 months and a big auction every 3 years. Although it is a small auction this time, there are a lot of rare items. It is said that there are 3 Zhenqi pellets among them. Hearing this, Yi Chen's interest was piqued. The Zhenqi pellet was an extremely precious pellet. It had a 50% chance of helping a condensing reality realm warrior to advance to the next level. It was equivalent to an enhanced version of the condensing reality pellet. Even though he had just made the breakthrough and did not need the help of external items, but if the auction house had this kind of precious pellet, he might find some other interesting things. All right, let's go. Yi Chen agreed. Chapter 82. Every disciple of the martial school had to complete a mission within a month. Even the core disciples were no exception, unless they were approved by the higher-ups. Fortunately, both Yi Chen and Wu Zongming had completed more than one mission this month, so they did not have to worry about not having enough time. They would be fine even if they came back next month. The second day. At the foot of the mountain, the two of them rode on their dark brown horses and galloped towards the northwest direction. The journey to the Forgotten City was 28,000 miles long. On the way, they had to pass through 4 cities, 2 mountains, and a large plain. The cities were not dangerous, and they could replenish their rations and eat some food. However, the mountains and the plain were never safe places. There were countless demonic beasts, horse gangs and robbers, and there were countless dark martial artists. In the eyes of the bandits, the weaker martial artists were fat sheep, and there was nothing wrong with killing them. The sky was blue and clear, and there were a few white clouds floating in the sky. On the northwest plain, the cool wind carried a strong smell of blood. These horse gangs must have thought of us as fat sheep. Wu Zongming used a black cloth to wipe the blood off his long knife and grinned. Sitting on the horse, Yi Chen looked down at the dead bodies of the horse gangs on the ground. Among the dozens of horse gangs, 2/5 of them had been cut in half, and the rest of them had their heads blown off. They died a horrible death, and the blood and flesh stained the grass red. There were only 2 of us, and we were riding on dark brown horses. These horse gangs probably couldn't resist the temptation, and thought of us as chicks. You don't say. After knowing that we were the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School, one guy wanted to run away. It seems like the disciples of the big martial schools are really scary, and they can do whatever they want. However, the dark martial artists are not included in this. They really think of the disciples of the martial schools as fat sheep. Yi Chen nodded. The number of martial artists in the underworld was much less than that of bandits and horse bandits. However, every martial artist in the underworld was an abnormally valiant existence. They were able to fight against the disciples of the big sects. There were some lucky ones among them who had inherited the true teachings of their deceased seniors. In terms of martial skills, they were not at a disadvantage at all. In addition, they had been fighting all year round. Their killing intent could scare ordinary people to death. In terms of momentum, they were much stronger. Before, they had met a mid-condensing reality realm warrior in the outskirts of the Azure Mountain, who had knocked Wu Zongming off his horse with only one spear attack. If he had thrown out a second spear attack, Wu Zongming would have been dead for sure. Yi Chen would not let that happen, so he killed him with one punch. I've heard that the Forgotten City is the largest city in the northwest. It has a length and width of 50 miles, and there are more than 10 million people living there. I wonder what kind of scene it is, Wu Zongming said as he sat back on his horse and looked into the distance. Hearing him, Yi Chen thought of the world he came from. In the ancient times, a city that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of people was already considered not bad. It was nothing compared to the true spirit continent. From this point of view, it could be seen how vast the true spirit continent was. It was not something that could be imagined. Pulling the reins, the two of them squeezed the horse's abdomen with their legs and galloped forward. In the evening, the sun was setting. The sunset glow in the west and the great plain behind them contrasted with each other, creating a beautiful and spectacular scene. Two teenagers riding on dark brown horses, one on the left and the other on the right, followed the surging crowd and arrived outside of a huge city. These two people were indeed Yi Chen and Wu Zongming. They had spent 1 day and 2 nights to finally cross the northwest plain and arrive at their destination, the Forgotten City. Behind the crowd, Yi Chen raised his head. The first thing he saw were the 3 golden characters on the city gate. Forgotten City Wu. Letting out a heavy breath, although Yi Chen had mentally prepared himself, such a huge city still surprised him. It was at least 5 to 6 times bigger than the Windy City near the Sky Cloud Martial School. The city gate was 33 meters tall, and the city wall was 6 to 6 meters tall. On top of the city wall, there were groups of fully armed soldiers patrolling back and forth with expressionless faces. Here we are. Wu Zongming looked a little tired. Yeah. Let's go in. Seeing that it was almost their turn, Yi Chen jumped off the horse. Leading the horse, the two of them walked to the city gate. There were 2 rows of armored soldiers standing in front of the city gate. Each of them looked very energetic with their temples bulging. Obviously, they were Mortal Realm Stage 5 or 6 warriors. The leader of the soldiers had even reached Mortal Realm Stage 10, not far from the Condensing Reality Realm. 1 silver per person. If you want to sneak in, you will have to ask the blade in my hand first. The leader of the soldiers was not in charge of collecting the entrance fee, he was staring at the people entering the city. Wu Zongming curled his lips. 1 silver. So expensive. The Windy City only costs 50 copper. Yi Chen laughed. You still care about this small amount of money? Of course I don't care about this small amount of money, but it is a lot for the commoners. Forgotten City is the biggest city in the northwest. It is not a good thing to collect a small entrance fee. Everyone wants to go in, and it will be crowded to death. In this aspect, Yi Chen had more foresight than Wu Zongming. That's true. After paying the entrance fee, the two of them entered the city smoothly. The Forgotten City was indeed the biggest city in the northwest. As soon as they entered, they were completely shocked. In front of them was a street that was wide enough for dozens of horses to run side by side. The shops on both sides were extremely luxurious, as if they were built with gold. In the distance, there were many tall wooden buildings rising from the ground. Just like Luo City, the Forgotten City also had a tall tower located in the center of the city. It's really incredible. Yi Chen shook his head. If the Forgotten City was full of modern high-rise buildings, he would not be so surprised. After all, everything in front of him was built by human beings, without the assistance of any machines. Moreover, in terms of luxury, the Forgotten City could not compete with the modern cities. West of the city, Shilai Restaurant. In the private room named Chen, Yi Chen and Wu Zongming ordered a table of dishes and ate with relish. The business of this restaurant is so good. Except for the private rooms, the outside is full. But the food is not bad. It is 100 times better than dry food. I am going to get sick from eating so much. Warriors all had a large appetite. In just a short while, Wu Zongming had already eaten 3 servings of food. Outside the private room, the waiter came in with another plate of dishes. You too, this dragon and phoenix bringing prosperity is a gift from our restaurant. Please enjoy. There were 16 private rooms in the Shilai restaurant, which were named Sun, Moon, and Stars respectively. Each code had 4 private rooms, and only the private rooms had precious dishes as gifts. People outside had to pay for them. Yi Chen asked, May I ask when the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start? The waiter's heart trembled. Those who could participate in the auction were all rich. These two must be the young masters of some big family with extraordinary backgrounds. He immediately said enthusiastically, "Two masters, the auction of the Northwest Auction House will start in 2 days. You can stay in the Shilai restaurant. So there are still 2 days. Then wait. This is a tip for you." Yi Chen threw a piece of silver to the waiter. It was worth 10 taels. "Thank you, two masters. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Go do your thing." Not long after the waiter left, an angry voice came from outside the private room. "What? All the private rooms are full? Are you kidding me? Do I, Tang Manlu, have to sit and eat with those lowly people? Master Tang, all the private rooms are full. Why don't you wait a little longer? I think some of the masters should have finished eating already." The waiter was terrified. "Page, I will give you 10 minutes to clear out a private room. Otherwise, I will hold you responsible." Chapter 83. The waiter did not know what to do. Those who could enter the private rooms were all influential people, and they could not be messed with easily. However, this Tang Manlu in front of him was not an ordinary person either. He was one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City, and his family was only second to the top 8 families. "Please wait, I will ask the manager." The waiter did not dare to make the decision, so he ran downstairs. On the ground, the well-dressed young man sneered and said to the beautiful lady next to him, "I heard that there are many treasures in this auction. I am afraid a lot of people have heard about it." The beautiful lady said, "My Purple Sun Martial School's second disciple, Ouyang Ming, will be here." "Oh, Ouyang Ming is here too." Tang Manlu's expression changed slightly. Ouyang Ming, who had the title of Little Godly Legs, was also one of the top 8 warriors. However, he was the leader of the 8 warriors, and his power was immeasurable. He was ranked second among the young generation of the Windy Nation. Indeed. Other than that, the North Snow Quick Blade Lynch from the North Snow Martial Academy will be here as well. I heard that he is here for a great blade. Tang Manlu did not have the arrogant aura that he had before. Compared to the 2 people mentioned by the young man, he was nothing. Soon, the manager who was over 60 years old hurriedly ran over. "Ayo, isn't this Master Tang? What brings you here?" Tang Manlu said impatiently, "Manager you, hurry up and prepare a private room for me. You will get the money. Don't tell me you don't have it. That is easy, leave it to me. Then it will be easy." Pulling the waiter aside, the manager said in a low voice, "Li Lin, who are the people in the 16 private rooms? Tell me." The waiter nodded and bowed. "The first private room is for the mayor's son, the second one is for the leader of the Luo family, and the third one, do you have a brain? Who told you to call out the owner of the Sun VIP room? They are all important people and you can't touch them. Call them out from the Star VIP room." The manager slapped the waiter's head and berated him. "Yes, yes." The waiter wiped the sweat off his forehead and said, "The one in the Star room is a middle-aged man. He is very powerful, he should be a clasping Yuan realm warrior. The one in the Star room is. The one in the Chen room is 2 teenagers. I heard that they are here for the auction." The shopkeeper was silent. It sounded like everyone was of high status, but the Shilai restaurant was located in the Forgotten City. Naturally, they had to satisfy the local bigwigs first. Even if the 2 youngsters with the number 4 Chen were from a big family, it would not affect their business. Moreover, Tang Manlu's Tang family was there to support them. "Go and invite the guest of Chen number 4 out. Let them go to the restaurant a few streets away. As for the previous dishes and wine, give them free of charge." After careful consideration, the manager gave the order. The waiter hesitated. But what? Hurry up. Do you want me to fire you? Don't forget that there are many people who want to be waiters in the Shilai restaurant. They are waiting in line. I'll go. Please don't fire me." The waiter hurriedly ran to the 4th private room with the character Chen. Pushing open the door of the room, the waiter rubbed his hands and said in a low voice, "Masters, I hope you can give this room to the guests outside. The dishes and wine that you have eaten before are all free of charge." Wu Zongming was eating fish. Hearing this, he stared at the waiter and said, "We are not guests. As for the dishes and wine, haha, what a joke. Yi Chen, can't we afford it?" Yi Chen sneered, "There are so many restaurants in the Forgotten City. They will find a place to eat." The shopkeeper said that you should. The waiter knew that he had said something wrong and hurriedly covered his mouth. "Shopkeeper?" Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. Being scared by Yi Chen's eyes, the waiter stammered and couldn't say a word. He had already cursed Tang Manlu in his heart. Why did he come at such a time and make things difficult for me? I can quit. No, the Shilai restaurant pays me well. I can't quit. Outside the room, Tang Manlu was getting impatient and scolded, "Shopkeeper, is it not done yet?" "Almost done, I will go and have a look." They hurriedly came to the number 4 private room, and the innkeeper ordered them to leave. "Sirs, I'm really sorry, but this private room has already been reserved. You should go to another restaurant." Bang! Wu Zongming smashed his chopsticks on the table. "Are you bullying us because we are foreigners? I will be sitting here today. Who dares to kick us out?" The shopkeeper braced himself. "I advise you to go somewhere else. You can't afford to offend the masters outside." "Who is it that we can't afford to offend? Let him come in and show us." "Well, you two should leave." Since he had already done this, the shopkeeper did not expect to be safe. He could only offend one of them. "How dare you?" Wu Zongming roared. At this moment, the door opened again. Tang Manlu and the beautiful lady walked in. They were already impatient and were ready to kick them out. Tang Manlu glanced at them and saw that one of them was at the early condensing reality realm and the other was at the mid-condensing reality realm. He said disdainfully, "You two, please, don't embarrass yourselves." Yi Chen also looked at him and said, "You don't have the ability to do that." Tang Manlu sneered, "Don't talk big. The Forgotten City is not like other places. Don't think that just because you are the king of your own territory, you can do whatever you want here. I, Tang Manlu, will make my words clear. No matter if you are a dragon or a tiger, you will have to bow down to me. Otherwise, don't say I didn't warn you." "Oh, Tang Manlu, I have never heard of this name. I would like to see how you are going to make me bow down to you." Standing up, Yi Chen stared at him. It seemed like he was going to fight if there was any disagreement. The beautiful lady shook her head. This person was too arrogant. It seemed like he had never been bullied at home. He was just going against Tang Manlu. He was going to suffer a bit later. The shopkeeper saw that the situation was not good. If these people started fighting, it would ruin the reputation of the restaurant. He immediately said to Yi Chen, "Sir, Master Tang Manlu is one of the 8 heroes of our happy city. The Tang family is also one of the top families in the city. They are not people you can mess with. Listen to my advice and leave immediately. Otherwise, it would be a small matter if you get hurt, but losing face is a big matter." Wu Zongming laughed out loud. Tang Manlu had already activated his Jin Qi and said coldly, "What are you laughing at? Trying to compare your family background with Yi Chen? You really don't know what's good for you. Even my Wu family does not dare to compare with Yi Chen's family." The manager heard something wrong. "I wonder which family this young master is from." Wu Zongming said loudly, "Listen carefully. My companion is the son of the leader of the Yi family, one of the top 8 families. He is also a genius of our Sky Cloud Martial School. He is one of the top figures in the entire Windy Nation. The Tang family is not worth mentioning. This young master is the son of the leader of the Yi family." The manager felt a little dizzy. He had really poked a hornet's nest. As one of the top 8 families, the Yi family also had a stronghold in the Forgotten City. They were very powerful, and the Western Arrival restaurant could not mess with them. He did not expect that he would actually ask the other party to leave. Wasn't he looking for death? If the Yi family heard this news, they would definitely not let it go. After all, as one of the top forces, their reputation was the most important. Being slapped in the face was like touching a tiger's butt. For a moment, The manager was frightened and did not dare to speak. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.